What's up, guys? Welcome to the Create the Courage podcast. This is a show where we dive into the art of chasing your dreams, leveling up your skills, and most importantly, taking charge of your life. I believe that nobody is coming to save you. It's up to you to create the courage to step up, take control, and shape your destiny. As this is also a journey I'm on, each episode I will chat with people from all over the world and all walks of life to learn how they create the courage in their own lives. Today, my guest is a man of many talents, from announcing MMA fights to having a fight himself, doing stand-up comedy, podcasting, creating a brand, all the while chasing his dream of becoming a professional actor, which, as it turns out, is about to come to fruition in a breakout role in an upcoming film called War Machine. So stay tuned for that. I thank him for taking the time to come on and chat and share his story with us. So without further ado, here's my chat with Mr. Blake Richardson, a man that definitely represents someone who creates the courage. But let's do it. All right, Blake, it's great to have you on the show, mate. Welcome to the Create the Courage podcast. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time and making time for me to come on today, brother. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, bro. It's my pleasure.
Yes, I was trying to think about how long it's been. It's been maybe 4 or 5 years, I think, since the very day when we sat at, I remember in UFC gym, we sat there for like an hour talking when you came into the gym. It's been like 4 or 5 years, I think, since then. I can't believe it's gone that fast, to be honest. But...
Well, that is a long time. Where to
now, I could be wrong. I think it's that long. I honestly think it's that long. Because it's been nearly 3 years since I left there, and I think you came maybe a year or two before I left, possibly.
Okay, yeah.
But to let everybody know, can you just give us a brief rundown of what you do for a living, sir, and then we will go from there.
Yeah, man. I mean, what I'm trying to do for a living is I'm obviously trying to be an actor in film and TV, primarily. But I don't know. I've thought a lot about this in the past. Like, people say, like, well, you know, what do you do? I do a lot of different things, but realistically, like, I've just been trying to facilitate becoming an actor or becoming a creative and being paid to do it. So I've done anything I have to do in between. But yeah, I mean, currently, you know, I do stand-up comedy. I am lucky enough when it comes through to do acting in film and TV. But outside of that, like a normal person, man, I just work a casual job in customer service, doing emails for a friend's company. I work in e-commerce. I launched a little e-commerce business just recently.
Oh, nice.
Trying to get that going. But yeah, man, just I don't work a 9 to 5. I'm not on the mines. I'm not doing FIFO. So, you know, just trying to, like anyone who's in the creative industry, I guess, just trying to, you know, figure out a way to pay the bills until the bills are paid, doing what you like to do. But that's pretty much it, man.
Awesome. Now, I feel like this is something I'm kind of trying to do in the YouTube space, is you have to have your hand in a lot of areas. You have to play a lot of different hands to stay afloat sometimes in this type of industry, because it's not necessarily guaranteed work. And I've found the people I've spoken to so far, and, you know, like yourself as well, you have to kind of branch out and do many different things to just, I guess, broaden the horizon of things you can get into. I think that also helps with getting opportunities too. Would you say, I know you weren't doing stand-up comedy when we first met. Like, what got you into that? Was that just a natural progression, or was that something that you were like, I'm going to do this to maybe get into, you know, other areas, get more connections, or how did that come about? Like, that was interesting.
Yeah, man, for me, it's like, I understand that way of thinking for sure. Like, I think for a long time I had a very tactical mindset about things, because, you know, the arts is so uncertain and there's no path and to how you get to where you want to go and stuff. So yeah, you think, like, if I do this might lead to this, and this could broaden my opportunities. And I don't know, man, I did that for a little while. And then when you do things that you don't necessarily want to do, but you think they're going to lead to better things and they don't, you just start to burn out and you start to become very bitter and you start to become very grumpy, or at least I did. So I just started to, I don't know, it was a few years ago. It was probably COVID, I think. I just decided to only do things that I just wanted to do for the experience, and stop, like, being so future focused and being like, what would this lead to? Is this going to be worth my time? Because for me, not to go on too much of a tangent, but I moved to Sydney. I'm Perth born and raised, but I moved to Sydney. I went to LA in 2019, end of 2019, and I had just an absolute, just a crazy good trip. You know, I was a no-name actor, still am, but I went and my manager got me into so many great rooms with these, these managers and these casting directors. And I just loved the vibe of the city at the time. It was like a city run by creatives and I felt like I found my place, and I was like, yeah, this is a place where I should be. And everyone's trying to do similar things to me. And I felt like I kind of belonged. And also I just had very, Americans love to stroke your ego, and they were like, you're going to be a star. And no one even tried to let me sleep with them, which I was prepared to do. So, it was really good. And I had stars in my eyes, and I was like, fuck this. I'm gonna get out of Australia, and I'm gonna take the next step that I was afraid to take as an actor. And then I moved to Sydney from Perth, which was a big move for me. I was pretty anxious about leaving, my hometown and my support networks and stuff. And I set up in Sydney, and I was auditioning. I was having callbacks for shows, and 3 months later after I got there, or 2 months even, COVID hits, and the industry shuts down. Everything shut down. And, I go from living in Sydney, auditioning and doing all this, cool shit, feeling like I'm just on the cusp of getting my career started, to being locked down in Perth. I'd sold all my stuff to go to Sydney, and, I was still kind of unsure if whether COVID was going to stop, or the lockdowns were going to lift, and I was going to go back. So all my stuff was still in Sydney. So I remember vividly, within a 2-week span of time, I was on a callback for an Australian TV show, waiting to hear if I was going to get it. And then I went back to Perth just to say goodbye to people. And then the lockdowns hit Sydney. I lost my job. The show was not going to happen anymore. And all my stuff was in Sydney. So I was I was just in a house in Midland, which I think, if your listeners are in Perth, is a shithole. And I was just staying with, and I had nothing. I had a Kmart clothes rack with whatever I brought over in my suitcase for a 4-day trip that I thought it was going to be. And I just had to start again. And I remember thinking what the fuck? And, as time went on, and there's infinitely worse COVID stories from people. But, for me, mentally, now I look back at it, it broke my heart, man, because I thought I was just about to start. I thought I was just about to begin, and everything seemed like it was lining up for me. And I had all this momentum, and then it all went away. And it just, month after month kept going. It was everyone remembers what COVID was like. It was oh, it might be 3 months, and then it's 6 months, and then it's a year, and then it's then it's 2 years. And in that time, the industry changed, things changed. And I was 20, that was 2020, it was 5 years ago. So I was about 25. So I was at my peak in terms of, I was ready to go, and I was young, and I was hungry. And by the time COVID ended and life changed, I was 28. I'd missed, a few years, and it was in that frustration of fuck this. I need to get back in control of my own destiny. This is fucked. Acting has just been taken away from me, it feels like. And stand-up was just something that was there and I could do, and I'd always been curious about it. So it's a very, very long way of answering your question. Stand-up wasn't something that was I think it's going to lead to more opportunities. It was just born out of this frustration of I just need to perform, and I just need something that is accessible now, not that someone else can take it away from me. And that's the beauty of stand-up. Anyone can go to an open mic, sign up, and get up and do 5 minutes. And then from there, if you're good, or if even if you suck, but if you keep going and you get better, eventually there's no gatekeeping. People will just let you do gigs because you're funny and making people laugh. And I needed that. I needed something that was just kind of up to me. So stand-up was not tactical at all.
You know what, mate? That is a perfect answer. Honestly, it puts it. You needed to tell that story to get the perspective, because that makes complete sense. I've watched a lot of comedians, and what you said just then about being in charge. By doing stand-up comedy, you are in charge. You are the creator. It's up to you to get up there. And you're right. Anybody can do it. Anybody can get up and do it. I feel like with something like acting, you're relying on so many outside forces to line up together, so many people to impress or win over or sell, essentially, to get the position to do whatever the gig is. Whereas stand-up comedy, it is you, it's all on you. So I think that's actually a great natural progression. I think that might not have happened if COVID didn't happen. If you think about it,
Yeah, there's so many things that I, over the last 6 months at least, I've sort of realized, which is a separate story, but I've kind of realized everything's worked out as it was meant to. And that whole feeling around COVID and me missing my opportunity, I mean, that kind of became my narrative in my head a little bit, was that, I'd been somehow cheated, and that I'd really missed an opportunity for acting. And now I realize that acting seems to sort of now be back in a place where it's taking off, and it's what I thought was going to happen years ago is happening now. I realized that it was always meant to be that way, and I've now, if COVID hadn't happened, I wouldn't have been with my fiance now that I'm going to marry. I wouldn't have started comedy. I hadn't even started martial arts at that point. I wouldn't have developed as a person and found my identity that now I'm able to pour into acting now that the opportunities are there. So, I'm sure I would have made the best of it had the opportunities come a few years ago, pre-COVID, but I wouldn't have been able to put my best foot forward and I don't know myself. I wouldn't have known myself as well as I know myself now. So it really did it did work out for the best. It was just very painful for those first few years. But I thought I was certain that I was just about to pop.
Yeah. Look, mate, I think that's so true though. And that's a good story for people to hear, because it's in the adversity when we're all going through COVID, when things change for a lot of people, changed my life. I wouldn't be here right now talking to you doing this if it wasn't for COVID. It was only in COVID that I got into doing YouTube. Like I literally hadn't even thought about it. It was being stuck at home, not knowing what to do, not having a job because, of course, gyms closed down because, don't look after your health. Let's not do that. Let's just close everything down. But that led to me, I had collected, as you can probably see behind me, a few of these things. And I was like, you know what, I might get the camera out and actually have a play. And that led from one thing to another to me then getting into YouTube and then falling in love with, again, like you said, being in charge. Like with YouTube, you're in charge of your own content. Whatever you do, no one can tell me what to do or what not to do. Whether people watch it or not is up to them, and you just make it as it is. Do you put your best foot forward, and whatever happens happens. And I actually love that about YouTube. And I guess that is kind of the same as stand-up comedy. But before I go further, congratulations too, by the way, on the engagement. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm a narcissist. You got to tell me what it is that you're congratulating me for, because I think it's like, oh yeah, thank you, praise. I'll accept it in any form.
Which awards coming my way? Which awards coming my way? Which part of my work did you like?
I'll accept any praise, man. I'm an actor, so
well, I'm pretty sure she's an athlete. I'm pretty sure she keeps you in check and kicks your butt when needed. I'm sure she keeps you in check.
Totally, man. I mean, on a serious note, I think I credit, pretty much everything, all the opportunities that I'm having now, a lot of that to her, especially because of just that mind, that headspace that I was in. I only realize it now upon reflection, but that post-COVID, like, okay, my dream's gone away and I don't think it's going to happen for me anymore. I was, I was still me, but I wasn't the best version of me, and I was just very angry and very jaded. And she's just a very, very sweet person. She's just got a great heart. I always say that if someone, went up to her in the street and stabbed her, she'd be like, "Well, let's hear him out. There's something going on. Let's you know what I mean?" And I'm like, "Get him." I'd be trying to kill him, and then she's like, don't hurt him."
He didn't mean
it. She's just a sweet person, and that sort of brings out the best in me. And she really got me to a space. Last year, I think I kind of realized where I was like, you know what, maybe I'll never become an actor, and maybe I'll never have access to the things that I thought I was going to. I'll never get to express myself in that way on like a global scale. But if this is my life, like I just have an awesome partner, and I have great friends, and I have my health, and I'm happy, and I get to express myself in some ways, maybe through stand-up, then that's a fucking good life. Like, get over yourself. This is a fucking great life. And I felt happy and I felt content. I was like, okay, I don't need this shit. And then, of course, as it happens, the universe was like, all right, he's ready. Let's go. Let's give it to him. You
know what? That is so true. It's when you let go of all those things that it actually finally happens. I feel like that's so true in so many areas. Like, I really do.
But I'm such a narcissist. I'd heard that. And so I tried to get to that place tactically. I was like, right, well, I just need to get to that place where I don't need it anymore. And then I'm trying to like out how to become content so the universe will reward me. And
how can I trick it?
How can I trick it? I'm saying it. I'm like, I don't even need this anymore. And then like waiting,
Wink, wink.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think you can cheat it. I think you just really do need to get to that space where you're like, I don't fucking need this shit. I'm happy anyway.
Yeah. It's interesting. And I want to ask you when did you realize that you wanted to be an actor, or that you wanted to express yourself and be an artist? Like, was it at a young age? Like I spoke to Rodrigo, the gentleman I interviewed last, the filmmaker here, who's teaching me how to use my camera, and he knew at 18 what he wanted to do. I asked this question because when I was younger, I wanted to be in entertainment. But I just had no guidance or really anybody in my life that encouraged me per se to really get into it. It was kind of just like, I grew up living in Tassie, and you just got a job and out of school, and you just go and that's life. So I kind of gave up on it. And it's only later in life, I'm 41 now, that I'm like, I think maybe in COVID, I was like, you know what, I'm actually just going to have a crack at doing something that I am passionate about because I love doing it. It just took me a long time to get there. Like for you, was it a long time coming, or was it something, assuming you were pretty young when you figured it out?
Yeah. I mean, to play armchair psychologist, most actors, most comedians, most, entertainers, there's usually something, there's some absent parent, there's some shit, like there's some yearning to be loved. Trauma, sure, they throw that word around. I think for me, man, now that I'm in a place where I'm 30 and I have a good self-esteem and I'm happy and I've got great people around me and good support networks. Looking back, my parents they had me when they were 18 and 19. They were very young. They were kids. My mum's an amazing mum. I love her to bits. My dad, I don't speak to anymore, but I love him. He's my dad. But they were flawed, man. They were young. They were kids, and I don't remember things being necessarily hard until until I was like an early teenager, or like the years just prior to being a teenager and stuff. But they did the best they could. They loved us. But whatever it was, man, whatever it is, I definitely, looking back, remember feeling like I just wanted attention and I just wanted validation and I just wanted love, especially when I got to high school. I wanted, which everyone feels, but I wanted girls to like me, and I wanted to be famous, man, so badly. I thought that would just fix everything. I remember just feeling like invisible and that people didn't see me, and that I just wanted to stand out and I wanted to be special. That was like the feeling I had in my heart. I was like, I cannot be normal. I need to be special. And, early on, I think in high school, I remember that used to manifest by me lying about things. I just used to lie to everyone, like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and we all know these people now that they still do that, but I would do that for me. Just pathologically lying, being like, yeah, I'm doing this and I'm killing it in this. And people would be like, no, you're not. And like, I am. So
trust me.
Yeah. So and look, man, I guess that's what originally drew me to acting. I think was that I wanted to be famous, and I wanted to be loved, and I wanted to be validated, and I just wanted to be special. That's all I wanted. I just wanted that, and that's kind of like the core of it. And you mentioned people didn't encourage you at a young age. I think the one thing that did lean into my favor was that I would talk a lot of shit, and I would tell a lot of stories, and I would do a lot of, whatever. And people, at some point, I remember people telling me, like, you're good at talking shit. Like, you're a good talker. Like, you're good at talking. And I ran with that, because I think it's something that people don't realize enough. But when people are young and they're searching for their identity, they'll cling to any encouragement or anything. Like, if you tell someone they're good at anything, they'll cling to that. Or if you tell someone they're bad at something, they'll avoid that, So I guess it's just kind of like, some universal timing that someone said to me, you are quite good at talking and performing. So I was like, that's how I'm going to be special. And I just attached that to acting, and I just kind of, lied about it. And then I went into drama in high school. I did that. I did well at that because I was like, I'm good at drama, and it was kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. But then, and I mean, that led to a long story that, obviously, between leaving high school and where I'm at now, being a professional actor and stuff, it's obviously a big journey there. But I think the heart of it it wasn't like I watched a movie and was like, that's what I want to do.
Interesting.
I just wanted anything to make me special. I would have taken anything.
Mm.
And acting was just that thing that I attached to. Being famous was that thing that I attached to. And then thankfully on the journey, I actually fell in love with acting and the craft of screen acting and performance and stuff like that. Otherwise I wouldn't be doing it, because if you want to feel good about yourself and if you want to feel like you're special, do not pursue acting in your 20s, because you will feel the least special of everyone around you.
Yes.
But I guess
a lot of rejection, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I hope that answers your question, man.
It does. It does. It's interesting because I think back, it's interesting that it was more that you wanted to be famous and it wasn't a particular movie. For me, it was like I loved everything about how films were made. Like I always loved like, the camera angles or the lighting or how did they do that or the story of the hero or whatever. But I just never had the courage to pursue it. Like I was all in on it, but I just never did anything with it. And I don't know why. Looking back now, I don't know why, if I was just scared or I just didn't think I could do it or what it was. I'm always intrigued with people like yourself who actually have the balls to go out there and give it a go, because it's not like you said, it's not an easy industry to get into. And whether it's narcissism that pushes you to do that or whatever, it worked. It worked, right? It put you in the position to be there long enough to fall in love with the craft. And I think all those lessons you go through lead you to where you are now, where you're actually able to probably, I'm assuming you appreciate it a lot more now after everything you've been through, getting the chance to get up there and actually act and do things.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't want to, appear to be falsely modest when I'm saying it was narcissism that pushed me towards, wanting to be an actor and stuff. I'm just being honest. That's what I felt. It wasn't, this like, it wasn't a great story. It was just like, I was a kid that wanted to be seen. I still want that. And I think that through the journey, in order to attain it, I've just had to learn a bit of self-love and just learn how healthy people actually think, how they behave and habits and stuff. And it's just lucky that through the journey of like pursuing this thing to get the validation, that I actually was like, wow, this shit's actually fucking cool. Like when it gets down to it. And to your point, loving film and camera angles and performance, that stuff came later. And I did, when I look back, I did love film and I did love acting and performance and stuff. And a lot of that was tied up in, they're famous, that's cool. But, looking back now and the way I would discuss certain films and certain scenes in films that really stuck with me and actors' choices in films, I realize now that not a lot of people were seeing that stuff at a young age, and that was kind of unique, that I was noticing how a film was making me feel and things would stick with me and an actor's choice as a character in that moment, in that situation. I would always be like, I remember that actor in that scene. He did this thing, said it this way. Why did he do that? And I guess that curiosity lends itself more towards why I want to be an actor, outside of the validation. But at the in the early days, it was just because I wanted girls to be like, he's an actor, he's hot.
Yeah. Well, look, I think a lot of us when we're young, we want that too. Like I remember when, God, this is a weird one, but I remember I saw Blade Trinity when I was younger with good old Blade Trinity, and I wanted to be Ryan Reynolds. I thought I was Ryan Reynolds in that movie. I'm like, I'm that guy, just unfortunately bald, but I'm that guy. Dude, I'm literally that character.
That is crazy you say that. Please pin that. If we get back to it, there's the story about that, about Blade Trinity, Ryan Reynolds.
Really?
Yeah, down the line. If we remember, circle back to it. If you
I won't forget, because that movie stuck with me I think I've seen that movie 1,000 times. I literally went back to, I think I was in college at the time, and I went back in college and I'm like, I'm Hannibal King. I even dressed up one Halloween as him. That's how obsessed I was with thinking I would be a wisecracking, get jacked. I'm like, I'm getting jacked. I'm not eating anything but drywall and wood chips, and I'm getting jacked, and I'm going to be funny, and I'm going to be the star. That was my. I
love
it.
I think it was college. Please, I'll try and remember it if it comes back around. But bookmark that for later, because you and I have very similar tastes and instincts.
Yes, I'm big into that always affected, I think that affected me a lot in life, was particular characters and movies that I saw would always kind of influence me, and how I would be. Like at one point when I was younger, I wanted to be a rapper. I thought I was going to be the Australian Eminem, and God knows I kept that delusion along for a long time. I'd follow that delusion
Right.
until I made an album. I had my own album that I made, produced it myself on a
Fucking
shitty
awesome.
little computer at home with a little microphone, like a tiny little microphone. Yeah, like I've always like wanted to do things, but like I said, never followed through. You know, at one point I was going to be like, I'm going to go to America and I'm going to be a rap star, and then I'm going to get into movies and I'm going to do all those things, and I just never did it. But now I'm glad, because it's led me to where I am, and I know exactly what I want to do. And it just turns out that it's this type of stuff. It's behind the camera, it's podcasts, and that type of thing is my thing now. I did want to say, you mentioned, oh, sorry, you go. I'll come back to that.
Just to your point is, it's like, you know, you don't get to that point where you're at unless you try things. And, you know, part of it, I don't think people talk about this enough, and I think it's a real problem with Australian culture. We don't encourage people to try things. And if you fucking suck at it, it's fine, because you're actually closer to finding the thing that you are good at and that you do like. And it's like, you know, I personally, listen, I haven't heard the rap album. I'm sure it's fucking amazing. I'm sure it's
that's fire.
It might be the worst thing on earth, but I love that shit. And I'm like, that's awesome, because you tried something and you executed in some small way, and it led you further down the line. And most people never get past that first step. Most people, you know, I always say, like, just try the thing you think that you want to do. And if you actually don't like it and you suck at it and you give it some time, it's going to lead you closer to the thing. Because I've tried to be an MMA fighter. I don't fight now. I've had one fight, but, you know, there were things where I was like, I tried different shit. I tried to be this. I thought I was going to be this. And acting was just that one that never went away. But I've failed and tried and built my identity around heaps of shit, trying to think that would what's what would make me special, you know. So no, I think it's cool. I think it's cool.
I appreciate it. Look, if anybody wants to hear, I have 2 songs still on Triple J Unearthed. One called Charged Up. That was my claim to fame. That got into a music competition back in the day. That's when I thought I was a big baller. I'm like, man, I'm freaking baller, and I've got a song on Triple J.
Love it.
But yes, I look forward to my other friends teasing me on that one. Look, like you said, it's right. I love trying things, because if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have learned how to write. I mean, I learned how to make music. I learned how to make beats. I learned how to put instruments together. I learned how to write lyrics, which in turn now I write scripts for the videos I make for my other YouTube channel, when I make videos on the figures and things like Spider-Man that I collect. So the writing then taught me how to do writing now, I think, and then recording songs taught me how to talk on a microphone, or talk in front of people, or get up and actually talk in front of people, or rap. You know, rapping in front of people is a lot more scary than talking in front of people. I feel like, which led to me then getting okay at sales, which then, you know, led to me getting to be able to sell well enough to become a manager, which led me to, you know, meeting you, and then all these other things that come from all those types of things. Like, so I think you're right. People should not be scared to try shit, because you never know where it's going to lead or what skills you'll pick up from it. Like YouTube has now taught me how to produce, how to do edit, how to do lots of different things that I never probably thought I could do. And you kind of just learn it as you go. Like if I go back and look at my previous streams or shows we've done, I cringe. I can't even watch it. But without that, I wouldn't be there. What about you? Can you watch yourself, or can you not, or do you not like to watch yourself?
John, I've already told you, I'm a narcissist. I love it, baby. When I see myself on screen, I'm like, finally, they got it right. Look at this shit. This is the good stuff.
I got it right getting you on. Yes, maybe you can rewatch this many times. Get my views up.
Rewatching this over and over, man. Like, fuck, I should have said something else that would make me look even cooler. No, it's different, man. When it comes to one last thing I wanted to say about the trying things, because I'm very passionate about that. I think people should try stuff more and more and more, especially in Australian culture. Try. The one piece of advice I would have around that, though, is try your best not to attach your identity to the things you're trying, and try not to build your self-worth around it, because it makes the stakes too high. I read a book called Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield. He also has The War of Art, which is an amazing book. Stephen Pressfield's really, really, really good. Yeah, really amazing. It's like, and the War of Art is like 130 pages. It's almost like a fucking handbook on like how to be disciplined as an artist. And his whole thing is like, stop attaching your identity and your self-worth to the things you do. You're not what you do. That's not how a professional acts. And, you know, I would have enjoyed the process a lot more of the things I was trying had I not built all my self-worth around it. And I think people do that, and it's natural. You know, when you get into sales, you're like, it's not enough to just say, I'm going to give it a go at sales and and try and make a living off it, you're going to become the best salesman of all fucking time.
That's
and
right.
it's like, then the stakes are high, and it's like, you just don't enjoy the process. So even for me now, I just, like, people go, stand-up comedy, and I'm like, man, I'm just trying it. I like stand-up, even with acting, it's the same. So try as much shit as you can, but try not to attach your identity to it. That's what's helped me. But in terms of watching myself, I do like it. I at times it's different though, because when I shot this film recently, War Machine.
I definitely want to ask you about that if you're okay with talking about it.
Sure. When I was, no, totally. That's my sort of breakout role, in terms of, it was the first time I was doing a role on a large scale production that actually had a full arc. Like, up until that point, the acting things that I had done had always been like, you were a supporting role, you were a day player, you maybe had like 3 or 4 scenes, but there wasn't too much journey for your character. It was kind of like, they're a bad guy, they come in. What color am I showcasing? Okay, I'm coming in and I'm a jerk, but how can I play a jerk interestingly? That was the limit of my experience as an actor. It was kind of like, you're playing one mood really in this scene. You have one job to do, but how do you want to do that interestingly? Whereas with this character, he's in a lot of scenes. He gets a lot of screen time, a lot of dialogue, pushing the story along. And I go through a change, and I go through a journey. So, and I had an accent. My guy's from Texas. Yeah,
so damn.
I had like this Southern Texas accent that I got to work with a dialect coach and build, which was really fun, and find how I think he sounded and stuff. So all of that being said, is that when I was watching, they call it playback. Playback, when you're watching after you've shot a take or something, when as the actor, the director, you watch it with it and see if you want to make any adjustments or whatever. When I was watching that, I didn't like it because I could just see me I could just see me doing an accent, and I would sort of panic and be like, I'm on a fucking $110 million movie. Am I ruining this movie? Like, that's just me in army clothes doing an accent. Like, does it look fucking ridiculous to everyone else? And then people would sort of just be watching like, nice. And then I ended up I actually asked a lot of the actors around me, and I was working with a lot of people like Daniel Webber, who's a great Australian actor. He was, opposite John Bernthal in The Punisher. Alan Ritchson, obviously, who plays Jack Reacher.
I know, that's cool. We love Reacher.
I asked all these, more experienced people if they felt the same, and they were like, oh, every time I watch myself, I'm just like, that's me in a shirt doing an accent, So I was like, okay, great. So maybe it's a shared experience,
I think so.
So yeah, I guess it changes. I don't mind watching myself. I have the ability to just watch the technical elements and not watch myself. How am I being perceived? I'm just trying to watch the technical elements. Okay, cool. Like, okay, I could bring my eyeline in a little bit more. I could. Why did I sound like that? That was me acting. I should just talk like a person talks, Blake. I'm looking at the technical aspects as opposed to, oh, I don't like the way my neck looks in that. I'm not thinking so much as me. I'm thinking more from a technical standpoint. So yes, I don't mind watching it for that sake. But sometimes actors watch playback of themselves, and it gets them too in their head, and then they can no longer be present because they're too busy thinking about how they look. And that's not good.
It's good that you can do it technically, because I've experienced that. I experience that all the time with like the other videos I make. I'm not generally on camera. I'm doing voiceover to the things I do, but doing podcasts is a bit different because I'm on camera, and I always think, oh, I'm not sitting straight enough, or things like that. I'm just trying to overcome that type of getting in my head, because when other people listen to it, I get nice feedback like, oh, you talk really well and things like that. I'm like, really? I've got an Aussie. I feel like my Aussie accent's super strong, but that's a journey I'm on, just trying to get over that and just be okay with it. My biggest thing is I'm just going to keep doing it regardless, because it's what I enjoy doing. Like actually getting to sit down and talk to people like yourself, I'm enjoying doing it. That overrides the fear of worrying about what I sound like or what I look like. So it's a little bit there for me, but not crazy amounts. I did go back, and I have to give you a shout out here. It only takes a night. You got me on there. You got me on there as an extra. Those 2 days were awesome for me. Just getting to see the process. And you did play a douchebag very well, I will say. Yes. You were magnificent at being a douchebag. You were fantastic.
You talk about not wanting to go back and look at old work. I mean, that one for me is tough. That's a tough one to look at. Yeah, I mean, like, again, all respect to, the filmmakers and everyone involved I mean, let me say this, making a film is fucking impossible. When you look at how much it takes to make a film, and to make a TV show in any shape or form, it's really hard. But yeah, I mean, like, it wasn't my best work. There were lessons in that, that prepared me for bigger opportunities and things like that. Look, I had a great time, and the cast were awesome. It's just that, I'm a narcissist. I had this thing where I was like, I wanna sink my teeth in. I want to be a lead. Give me a good role. And this again was like a role where I was coming in and I could,
one tone, right? Just the one tone.
Yeah, one tone. You're a jerk
right?
the whole time. You're a jerk, and then the jerk gets his comeuppance at the end, and that's what it is. And I just was like, I know how to do this, and that's why you've given me the job, and that's great. But I have more to give. I have more to offer, and I have more ideas. And yeah, so there was a little bit of that, which is just my own shit. It's nothing to do with the movie, but also it just wasn't, which not all jobs are, but it just wasn't my type of movie. I wouldn't watch that movie genre. Generally, I don't consume that content. Some people do, and some people love it, and that's absolutely fine. But it's a little bit more exciting and fulfilling when you're operating in a world and a type of content that you yourself would consume. You're excited by, because I feel like I did an okay job, but it was kind of like in a world that I wasn't a huge fan of, in a genre that I wasn't a huge fan of, and I definitely wouldn't want people to watch that and be like, oh, so that's who that guy is. That's his ability. I'm like, no,
and I don't think they would. I don't think they would. I don't think they would. Yeah, I don't think they would. I didn't. Like, I thought you did. See, if you come in from angle, that's not my type of movie either. But I was hyped up because, I was like, am I going to be in the background? I was in the, am I in it? Turns out I was. Took a couple screenshots. Maybe I'm a narcissist too. But me and my daughter were dancing. I'm like, look at Dad. Dad looks like a creep with the glass there, watching these girls dance. Absolute creep. So for me, it was just a great experience to just be on a set and see how it works, see how everything goes. From what I thought, like the last, I guess, thing I had to do with acting was a play that I did back in college. Demetrius, and It Only Takes a Night. I'm not going to lie, I was pretty good. Didn't mess up online. Neither here nor there if anybody's watching. But like just being in the background to watch though, and what I think I got to see you on the second day, I think it was. In that scene or whatever. I loved it. So while you're looking at it thinking, please don't look at me like that, I think you needed that role again, just to keep the snowball going, the snowball effect of experience going. You've done that now. You've done that onto the next thing.
Absolutely. And I learned a lot of lessons, man. A small lesson on that was, for example, so I think with acting that I'm realizing, and it's sort of no one teaches you this, you just have to learn it, is that so much of it is like brand management and ownership over what you bring to certain roles and what you do. And a lot of it, weirdly, with acting is kind of like what can tend to happen to actors and people who pursue acting is that they become these blank canvas people where they're like, I can be anything. And it kind of becomes, you just become this like edgeless, point of view-less NPC almost. You become the grossest form of a human, in my opinion. You're just kind of like, whatever you need. I have no opinions. I have my hair is neutral and I can be whatever. And it's just kind of like, and you'll never work that way, I don't think. Or because people need to come to you for a brand. They're like, why would I give you a role? It's because you have a way of working and a point of view, and the business thing is separate. That's hard. That's a whole different thing. I don't have advice on that. But in terms of ownership and like owning the character for that particular job, I remember I grew my hair was kind of long and weird. Like it was in a really weird, it wasn't really a style. And I was playing this jerk who was like a finance bro. And I had this idea that, it's a movie. And when I come in, I'm not going to cut my hair. I'm just going to bring it in. And then the makeup team and the hair and ladies will like cut my hair like a finance bro, and it'll be great. And basically what happened was I grew my hair out in this horrible, weird in-between length. And I went, to the makeup people, and they were like, that looks great. Awesome. And I was like, no. Like I look like a jerk. I want to look like, I'm sure a finance guy would have a fade and he'd have it, flicked over, but he's going to have that jerk. He's going to have that jerk hair, like you can see it, he's wearing boat shoes. He's got the fade with the pushback. all this
Yes.
stuff. And I had a vision for him in my head, and I surrendered control to the makeup team and the hair team. And most people would say that's a professional thing to do. But ultimately what ended up happening was that they were like, hey, whatever, like, I'm happy with it. Fucking. And I wasn't. When I look at it,
Damn.
I see a real missed opportunity, and that reflects on me. And it's like, no one knows that wasn't my choice. No one, like,
Yeah,
this is something I'm
that's
learning.
crazy.
It's like, I could have made a statement. I could have come in and I could have been, and you don't know this because you don't want to make a fuss, but I could have been like, nah, you know what? I'm going to get my hair faded, and I know how I want to make this thing, and discuss it and take ownership. And a lot of the time on film sets, depending on the example and the role and what kind of world you're in, a lot of the time they don't want to think of shit. They want you to think of it.
That's interesting. But nobody tells you that, right? Nobody tells you
No one
that
fucking
you
tells you
need
that. So I just had shit hair for that movie. My hair is fucking insane. It's weird. It's not long. It's not short. It sits weird. It makes me look very strange. And I would never do that again. So from now on, anytime I go to and I actually got in actual big arguments on this recent job about my hair and costume.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man, and it's because it's my career, it's my job, and it's like these things matter, and you have to go about it in a professional way and be a professional, and know what's your own ego versus what's actually serving the story. But I know I'm always coming from a place that is serving the story and the genre, and I know what my character's role is within this, and that's what I'm always gonna try and work towards. And so I mean, now I'm on a tangent.
That's interesting. No, but that's interesting because you learned that lesson though with that movie. Totally. If that didn't happen, you wouldn't have been knowing exactly what you need to do now. So I think it's just another example of just you've just got to keep doing shit to get the reps in, to get to build your base of where you're coming in. I think that makes you more solid too. Like when people hire you in the future, like when people hire you on the next one, they're getting someone who's more seasoned and knows who's going to bring more to the table and eventually make their jobs easier, I would imagine. As opposed to someone who is just a blank canvas and just flows with the wind. Those people are a little insufferable, those ones, because then I feel like the job of an actor would be to have input. I mean, I'm not in it like you're in it at all, but I feel like you need to have some input, right? To guide the character. That's why they hired you.
I remember a casting director once said to me, because especially when you're auditioning, right? It's different when you have the role, because then at least you have some validation of like, okay, whatever I was doing in the auditions, they clearly like. But, especially when you're auditioning, you've got the script and you kind of like, there's this energy that casting directors were speaking about where actors would come in and they're trying to get it right. They think that there's a way that the people, they think that there's this thing where they're like, we know how we want it. Let's see if they do it. And the reality is the casting director has no idea how they want it done. The script is a blueprint. The genre is, it's like it's a blueprint. It's like, and now you fill in the colors. And when he said, when you feel that an actor is like, is this good? It does the same thing mentally as if you took your car to the mechanic because you want your car fixed, and the mechanic goes like, and how would you like me to fix the car? And you're like, I don't know, man. Like, I thought maybe you would tell me how to. I thought you were going to fix it. That's why I'm coming to you to hire you. It's like, I can fix the car any way you want. And then they're like, oh, I'm just going to fucking go to another mechanic, man. This is terrifying.
That's so true. That's so true. That's interesting. That's so true.
I want someone to walk in and be like, listen, I don't know what you guys are looking for, but here's my quote. This is how I would do it. And let me know if that works for you. And we can have a discussion. And if there's more information that I'm missing, then maybe I'll change the way I would do it. But like, but this is, if you hire me, that's what you're going to get. And then people go, fucking love that. Like, it's actually not what we're looking for, but at least I know when I go to this person, they fucking know what they're doing, like, that's what I'm all about.
Bro, you're dropping jewels here because that relates literally. And I got 2 points on this, I guess. Like, I feel like one day I want to go into a bloody audition because I feel like I would love to go in there because I have no fear of not getting it because my whole life isn't riding on it. And I feel like you mentioned that, like, when your whole identity rides on you getting the role, I feel like they go in there and they overthink it and they panic it. It's generally the people who go in there with nothing to lose. Or they don't give it, like they're confident in what they're going to do. I'm going to do me and you're either going to like it or not. I think that is where you're at now after
Right.
COVID, like you mentioned before, right? You're
Yeah.
going to get me now. And that's probably what's won you these roles more, as opposed to being someone who's overthinking, everything's riding on me getting this.
Yeah,
I'm worried
totally.
about it. And how I relate that is to, so when I left UFC, we started our own cleaning business, Lani and I. So we started cleaning gyms, which COVID got us into, because after COVID, we started cleaning the gym, and we're like, you know what, we could actually, let's start our own business and go clean gyms. And how I relate that to that is, when you're first starting out, you're just trying to get any work you can. So you kind of go in there, I can do anything you want, I'll clean anything you want. And you end up getting taken advantage of,
Totally.
because they don't know what they want either. Like when I managed gyms, I didn't know exactly what I wanted clean. I trusted the cleaning company to do the cleaning, and just I pay them to do the cleaning. Whereas I learned over time, it's like, actually, no, I'm going to create I'm going to create a list of, this is what we're going to do. If you hire us, this is what you're going to get. And if you don't like it, then we're not for you. But it took me time to, after talking to a couple of gyms, going in there, trying to sell yourself, to get the business, where I realized that it's like, you know what, I'm not going in there to please them. I'm going in there to tell them how I think it should be. And they'll either understand and get on board, or they won't. And I think that relates to that as well. Would you say that plays a big difference? Like this last gig that you got, did you go in confident, or were you like, I'm assuming you went in confident. I'm assuming you went in like,
No, it's funny, man, because all of that being said, I think that, acting's one of those weird ones where it's like, it's just so not up to you. And there's so many decisions, especially in the early stages where I was at, where I don't have any credits. I don't have any momentum from a business standpoint. It may be arrogant to say this, but like, I think no one's ever questioned my talent in terms of people in the industry that have seen me, whether they be acting, casting directors, or agents, or anything like that. Everyone's from the get-go, and I have developed over time, but everyone's sort of been like, we get it. This kid has something to offer. He's talented as an actor. However, the business, it's all about business. It's all about them dollars, baby. And all the jobs that I was going for, I've always been more gunning for the US projects, as opposed to like the Australian stuff. And naturally, just my look and my sensibilities, my point of view, there's not a lot of Australian content that's being made through the pipeline of funding that I am well suited to. I'm not a surfer. I'm not that fucking ochre Australian guy.
How you going?
I've got I'm kind of like ethnically ambiguous / white, kind of got bulgy eyes, look a bit like an alien, kind of not, So
unique. Unique.
Sure, unique, fine. But it's like the US market has always been what I'm better suited to, but it's harder to crack, because why would they pay to fly this kid from Perth who has no credits and no momentum, is not a viable business investment at this point, to this role? Let's give it to someone established, which has been the case for years, COVID aside. Also, there's been this big push for diversity over the last few years, which is great, but it doesn't help me. Because
it doesn't help us with anything, unfortunately.
Sure. But even though, I am, my mother is Maori, which she's, indigenous to New Zealand, and my kuro, my grandfather, was like a full-blooded Maori, which means, I'm like one generation removed from like an indigenous population to a country. I'm white. Like I look white, I sound white, and in the eyes of the industry, they don't give a fuck. They're just like, boy, you white, we can't cast you anything other than that, which is fine. I get it. So all of that, there's so many factors in the business side of things that you just really do need to line up for you in order for you to get your first big opportunity. But all of that being said is why I find acting to be such a harrowing journey for a lot of people. And when people come to me and they go, how do I get started? I literally don't even know where to start. Like, I'm like, dude, this thing there's so many moving parts. Like, you need to just start. I started by going to Facebook adverts for like Facebook casting calls for like adverts. And I remember I was an extra in the background of a Danny Green One Punch Kills commercial. And then from there, I met someone who was like, they were like, who are you with? And I'm like, I'm with no one. And they're like, oh, we'll just like email this person. And I was like, okay. And then I, whatever. The journey is just so long and it's so ridiculous, like anything, that you just need to start. And then once you get to a certain point, if someone was like, hey, I'm here, I have this agent, or I have this and I've done this. Where do you think a good next step is? Maybe I could help with. But it's such a crazy journey that all of this being said is that, yes, my mindset is that I go in there and I put down a brand and I put down, that's what you get. But if you don't get anything, eventually you're like, is this the right way of doing it? I don't fucking know. You know, like you really do need that external validation to make yourself feel like I'm on the right path. And luckily I have had an agent / manager in Sydney who's a great friend of mine. I graduated WAPA, the drama school in Perth, in 2017. So he signed me in 2018 and he has literally I've been the worst crypto investment of all time for this guy. It's been 7 years. Up until this point, up until recently, he had made, probably $2,000 in 5-6 years off me max. And he's been working like a dog trying to convince, the world or the industry that I'm the next big thing. And he's a friend as well. And, without him, I would have given up probably ages ago. But
interesting.
He really insulated my mind in this thing of like, hey, you can only control what you can control. You are talented. People see it. It's just a numbers game now. We just need someone to take a chance on you. And we're going to do everything we can in order for that to happen. But we can't control that. So just stay happy, stay healthy, keep doing what you do. And eventually your number will get called. And last year it did. Do
you want to open up a little bit about it? Like, do you want to tell us a bit about like how did it come about? Like, it must have been, how did you feel when it happened? Like, well, did you like, well, I guess obviously you got the call to go audition. Do you want to go from there? Like,
sure. So the audition process, for people that don't know, very few auditions are in the room now. Very, 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 very few. It's all self-taping now. So it's all, nothing's in the room almost ever anymore. So it's all self-taping. They cast worldwide. So you get sent, basically the way it works is that like a studio or whatever's happening, they have a project. They will send it to casting directors in different regions of the world. There'll be a casting director attached for the Australia-New Zealand search. There'll be a casting director attached for the US-Canadian search, blah, blah, blah. Depending on the size of the project, it will go worldwide, or it will just stay in America, or it will just stay here. That's how it kind of works. And they'll have character briefs. So they'll be like, one of our characters has to be he's male, he has to be between 20 and 35 years old, Caucasian or open ethnicity, whatever. And this is a rough idea of who this guy is, right? That will get sent to casting directors. Casting directors will then release all those character briefs for projects to agents and managers below that. And if you have a good agent or manager who has access to these things, they will then submit you as their actor. I think Blake could be good to audition for that. Casting has to approve that. They go, yes, we will see an audition from Blake. Then they send you the audition. Then once you get that, you learn the script, you learn whatever information you can about it. You do a self-tape in front, you film it, you light it, you do it, against a wall, whatever the fuck. There's multiple ways people do it, but you basically film it with someone reading off camera for you. You edit that, you send it to your agent sends it to the casting director. If the casting director likes it and thinks that you're good, they will submit you to the client, the producers or the studio, whatever, at which point then you're on the short list. So then maybe you know about that. Maybe they say to your agent, just so you know, we've submitted Blake, he's in the short list. Now that short list could be 3 people, it could be 15 people. You don't know, but you're through to the next stage, right?
Crazy.
Then you just go about living your life. If production decide, you know what, we think this kid could be good, they're like, let's give him a call back. So then you get notified it's a callback. So a callback is basically you're going to do the audition again, but via Zoom, which is, again, its own fucking thing. So you're going to do the same scenes again. Maybe they send you new scenes and you're going to do the same thing, but acting this time like this. You'll be standing, you set your laptop up to the laptop camera this time. There'll be someone on Zoom with like a delay who'll be reading for you in the US. And then in the Zoom meeting, there's going to be the director, there's going to be the casting director, there's going to be probably producers, there's going to be this and that. And you have to fucking insulate your mind and be like, okay, don't fuck this up, because this is a real opportunity here and all these people are watching, and you got to try and not be a fucking gross, disingenuous, like, hey guys, nice to meet you. Like, I really love the project. So, and then you got to do it and do it again. And then often they redirect you, and it's the most inorganic fucking experience to act to a laptop with a time delay. And then from there, if God willing, they saw something in you and you get the role, then you have the role, right?
Wow.
That's how it is, right? That's the entire process from start to finish and how it can be. Now, I've been to final callback for big projects multiple times and never got it. So like I've gotten to, like literally down to like, oh, hey, there's the director, the cast, did the scene. I thought it was fucking great. I thought I nailed it, blah, blah, blah. You hear 2 weeks later, nah, they went a different direction. Fuck, now I'm going back to froth and coffee, you know? And then you see that show come out later on, and it's, I had that straight out of drama school with The Boys, the superhero show.
Yes, I remember you telling me about that. That's a crazy story. Come on, tell us again. Tell the audience. The Boys.
That exact process I went through, I just described. I had straight out of drama school it was only a character in the first season, Translucent, who was like the naked pervert character, and then gets blown up. But I had no idea. I was just kind of like, oh, I'm brand new to the industry, and I got all the way down to callbacks, and then it didn't end up going my way. They went older, which is nothing to do with me. They were like, nah, actually, we need an older guy. So that's it. I missed out, and then the show came out, and I was like, oh, it's one of the fucking coolest shows I've ever seen in my life. That would have changed my life. But so that's happened multiple times. Just so now people know what the process is and how fucking mentally painful it can be.
That's devastating. Hey, gee, that's hard. Like that's what I get kills probably a lot of people. That probably just takes them out. Just that constant, nearly getting it and then not getting it, and the waiting. I'm assuming the waiting. I hate the waiting.
The waiting's bad, but also, I mean, on some hand, early on, it's like, but you're getting close. That means that you're doing something right, like just wait it out. And you're like, yeah, I'll wait it out, But then it can be fucking forever until you get another callback. Most of the time when you self-tape, I'll send it off to my manager. I just auditioned 2 days ago for a Peter Berg movie, who's he did Lone Survivor, Friday Night Lights. He just did American Pie. He's great, and it's a role that I think I'd be fucking amazing for. I've heard nothing back yet. And I'm kind of like messaging my manager, be like, hey, fucking anything about that Peter Berg movie? I think I'd love to work with Peter Berg. He sounds great.
Yeah.
And I've heard nothing. So I may hear something down the line. I may not, probably not. That's 99% of the time you just send it off and then you hear nothing. And then that's it. It's over.
You just got to do it and move on. Do you like prepare yourself for that now? Like, have you just prepared yourself for that type of thing now? You just do it, move on, forget about it. If it comes back, it comes back.
On average, I do one. If I had to average it out, I would do one audition a week. I've done one audition a week, self-tape on average for the last 6-7 years. So yeah, man, you just move on. It's just like there's hundreds. I've booked 4 or 5 roles total, 5 I think, including War Machine. So like out of 300 auditions or more. I mean, those numbers are not bad, but it's like that's a lot. That's a lot.
So a lot. It's definitely a numbers game.
All it ends up becoming, man, and I don't know if you relate to this with YouTube, is that it's like, do I like the audition? Am I happy with my work? Do I think every audition that I send, I absolutely try, and this is lucky because I only get good auditions through my manager. I don't have to usually audition for terrible shit. And that's also because I'm based in Perth, because no one's going to fly me for a small shitty role. It has to be something substantial.
Yeah.
I try my best that every time I send an audition, every time I put something forward, that I think they are fucking dumb if they don't give me the job.
Yeah.
That's how
I think that's what you have to be like. You have to be like that, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's how I feel. I'm like, I don't know who this guy is, but I think that's it. I think it's that. And if you don't fucking like it, I liked it. That's so then that becomes the win. Most 90% of the time, it becomes like me sending a tape to my manager and being like, "What do you think of that?" And he's like, "You are a fucking superstar." And I'm like, "I know, right? Pretty good. Do you like what I did in that second scene when I like looked over there and I thought I made. Did you notice the choice? How I made him like a little bit more manipulative in the second scene? He's like, "I did notice. God, you're a special talent, my son." And I'm like, "I know." And then we hear nothing, and that's most of what an actor's life is, right?
Yeah. But your manager sounds like a smooth operator. He's a smooth. He knows how to keep you happy. You're a star, son.
He's my. By the way, he has never. He said it once when I was actually genuinely down, but he never tells me I'm a star. He's just like, "Shut up."
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, I digress, man. So hopefully that informs people of the process. But with War Machine, it was exactly that. I got a self-tape through. I looked, and when you get a self-tape, usually they don't send you the full script. They just send you the scenes that you're auditioning for, right? They're called sides. So I read this, War Machine, sounded interesting, action sci-fi being shot in Australia and New Zealand. And I thought, oh, cool. I read the scenes, and immediately with the character, I was kind of like, oh, okay, cool. I sometimes it happens where you go, I know immediately how I want to play this guy. I'm going to be cheeky. He's fun. I think he cares, but I just had an idea in my head, and my instincts were like, I think I know how to play this guy. It was like 2 scenes. One scene was him kind of giving people shit and being cheeky and holding court, and I was like, I know how to do that.
You're good at that. You're good at that.
And the second scene was like more vulnerable and highest, like, panicked and he's crying and stuff in the script at least. And and I was like, and if I do have any strengths, it's the fact that I can be cheeky, but I can bring it if I need to and make it real and a bit more vulnerable. So anyways, I did the tape as I do every tape, and I don't know, man, I just had a different feeling about this one. I was like, I was improvising a little bit. I was ad-libbing some lines in there, just for a self-tape. And again, this is not in front of anyone. This is just in front of my actor friend who I do auditions with. And I sent it off. And like any other tape, I was like, I feel fucking good about that. And then maybe a week or two later, I got an email. My manager texted me and said, oh, just so you know, man, you've been put on the short list. Literally, I've been put on the short list that many times for projects that I never heard back about. So I was like, cool, thanks, awesome. Let me know when something progresses. And then I was going to Canada and the US for 4 weeks, just for a holiday with my lovely girlfriend. And when I was getting on the plane to fly to Sydney, to then fly to Vancouver, my manager calls me and goes, okay, so they want to do a callback with the director. And I was like, oh, cool, fuck, all right, well, shit, all right, it's on to the next stage. This is like a serious, if you get to callbacks, then you're really in the running. Like you're in the running. And again, I'm not aware of the size of this role at this point. I know he's in at least 2 scenes. I was like, oh, fucking cool, sweet, no worries. And he goes, yep, so I'm sending you the full script. Also, I know you were doing a general American accent. The casting now feel that maybe this guy's Southern. Do you want to give Southern a go? And I was like, sure, I'll do Southern. So they send me the script, and they send me the scenes again. Now I have to do a Southern accent instead, and they also send me the full script. So when I'm flying from Perth to Sydney, I'm reading the full script on the plane because I was like, I might as well read the full script. And I open this script, John, and I'm looking through, and then 10 minutes into the movie, my character comes in, and my girlfriend's reading a book next to me. I go, oh, look, he's already in it. That's pretty cool, huh? She's like, yeah. And then I read, and oh, fuck, I'm in the next scene too. That's sweet. And then read a bit more. And I'm like, oh, here I am again. And then I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck? This is like I'm in this a lot. Maybe I die 20 pages in. No, oh my God, look at this scene. Look at this. Holy fuck, that's a cool scene. And then eventually I was like, oh my God, this is like a lead role. This is like it's not the lead, but it's the second lead, and it's the most exciting role. Like I have the most and then I started to be like, oh fuck, I want this role so bad. Now I'm starting to be like, fuck, I got this callback coming up, and this is going to change my life. And not only is it like a big role in a big film, but it's something that I know that I can fucking nail. I just know I can do something for it that most people couldn't. And so I, whatever, put it out of my mind. I have the callback when I'm in Canada. I set it up, and the callback went really well. Again, I've been in this situation so many times. You talk about the reps, where I just knew what I could control and knew what I couldn't. And we did it. The vibes felt good. Felt like I nailed it. He asked me some questions about the character and how I see him, and I just said, I wasn't trying to think about what I wanted to hear. I just said how I saw him, and
that's the best way.
Yeah, and then that was it. That was the end of it. And I called my manager afterwards because we got to debrief about these things, and I just said, look, no matter what happens, I feel like I fucking nailed it. And he goes, that's all you can control. And I said to him one thing. I said, because in the past he would always, if I missed out on a big role, he'd be like, listen, it's still a good thing. You're on their radar, and he would give you the consolation speech, which is true. It's still true. But I said to him, this time, if we don't get it, please don't give me that speech. I've been ready for my shot for years now. The only thing left is for someone to take a fucking chance on me. That's it. Don't tell me that this is a good thing. And he's like, I won't. If you miss out on this, I'll tell you to fucking kill yourself. And I was like, thank you. But yeah, 4 weeks passed on the holiday. 4 weeks, I heard nothing, and I was like, okay,
Oh,
I
Jesus.
didn't get it. And then I got back from my holiday. The day after I got back, my manager calls me and he goes, all right, you ready for a call? And I was like, oh, fuck, here we go. And so he sits me down and he walks me through the whole process of what's been happening behind the scenes about this role, seemingly to let me down gently. And he said that, like, look, I want to let you know that you were the directors and the casting's #1 pick for this role. US casting even liked you, but here are some of the names for all the people that wanted to get your role. And he started throwing these names at me, and I was like, holy fuck, like that guy wanted the role. Jesus, I haven't got a fucking prayer, you know? And then he's like, yeah, and then they did this, and then, they hit this point. You were still their #1 pick, but then Netflix said, I think this character needs to be ethnically diverse. The two most devastating words for me to hear. And I was like, oh, God. What am I going to do?
Did you get your Maori badge? I'm Maori.
I just start doing the haka to fucking, get some street cred. And, so then they were looking at more Latino actors and this and that and blah, blah, blah. And then they found this one guy and he had his call back today, and casting just called me and he goes, and I just want to let you know, they're giving you the role. And as he said that, he started crying. And this is on the phone, right?
Wow.
And I said to him, are you crying right now, man? And he goes, yeah, I am fucking crying, man. And I was like, why are you crying, dude? This is good, right? And he goes, and I get a bit emotional thinking about it, but he goes, like, you have been ready to work for so long. You've worked so hard. And this industry can be so unfair. And he goes, Blake, sometimes people really don't ever get their shot. Some people just never get their shot, and they deserve it. And he goes, and I have worried for a long time because I care about you that you might be one of those people that never get your shot, but you're going to get your shot. You're going to get a shot at doing what you love to do. And I'm so excited for you, and whatever comes from it, you deserve it. And I fucking cried. I was like, holy shit, you're right. I get to do this thing. And that really was my mindset the whole time going into this movie, man, was it's like, I have nothing to lose here. No matter what happens with my career from here, I did it. I was one of the, I was a decent role in a Hollywood film, and I got to, I got to show people what I can do. I mean, when this movie comes out, if it's a hit, whether it's not, doesn't matter to me. It's like people will watch this movie and see me and at least know a little bit about what I can do, and a little bit of, because that's one of the most painful things with acting is I've never been able to share with any people that I love what's in my heart and what I want to do, because someone needs to give you the opportunity to do that. And this role really was that for me. And it was an opportunity for me to be like, look, this is a little bit of what I've wanted to do since I was a kid. Let me show you what I do. And I'm just so excited, not really for what it means for my career, because lots of people are in big movies, John, and they don't work all the time. So it doesn't mean anything for that. But all I'm excited for is for my mom and my fiance and my friends to be able to watch something and go, holy fuck, cunt, you're like, that's what you do. That's, because I feel like they'll get to know you a little bit better, because it's this thing that I've never been able to share with them. So that's pretty much the whole journey.
It's got to be just rewarding to know that all the hard work, so this podcast, Create the Courage, is, I feel like you're the epitome of that. You stuck with something for so long that's so difficult, and you made it happen by not quitting, by not giving up, by putting in reps, by keeping to do it. It must have felt amazing, mate. It must still feel amazing that you actually got to go and participate in something like that. It's a dream come true. Like for me, one day I look at you as inspiration, because I'm like, one day I want to be the cameraman on one of those things. I want to be the guy like doing the angles and coming up with the shots, and that's what I want to do. Even at 41, soon to be 42, I'm like these stories are inspirational, because I believe that it doesn't matter what age, you can get there no matter what the age is. And it took you how many years to, like, God, how many years did it take you to get there? Like,
I mean, it was 7 years, just, not including drama school, which is really the journey in terms of when I was like, no, I'm going to do this now. I'm going to go to drama school and I'm going to pursue this. So yeah, about 7 years, man, 23 to 29. Yeah.
Think
I
about
appreciate
it. That's crazy.
Appreciate that, man.
It is very inspirational, mate. It's very inspirational because 7 years, like how many people stick with something? People can't even stick to a diet for more than a month, let alone stick to, going through constant challenges and ups and downs and God knows what, all the things that comes with trying to be in the entertainment industry, having to work other jobs and have the energy to still pursue goals and dreams and do all these different things. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people just get a job and go to work and live for the weekend, and that's all they do. But to have the courage to keep pushing through all the no's, all the ups and downs, mate, it really is an inspiration. And I think there's got to be the passion in you must be so strong to stick to it. And I personally can't wait to see the movie, to get to see you show us what you can do. So when's it coming out? Like, is it, I'm assuming, a little while before it comes out? You just finished, right? Like not long ago.
Yeah, finished end of December. Well, firstly, thanks so much for saying that, man. That's really sweet. I try and avoid all self-importance as much as possible. That's the comedian in me. I think self-importance is the least fun thing ever, and that's the currency of which, if there's one energy that's going to be critiqued and I think deserves to be critiqued, it's self-importance, and that's you can be deeply passionate and focused on what you do and care about shit, but if you can't laugh at yourself, and I love ambitious people. I love people that back themselves. I fucking love crazy people, man. I worked with Dennis Quaid on this movie. That motherfucker is out of his mind, and I love him. I think he's crazy and he's so crazy fun. Separate story, but my point being is that I love people that are deeply ambitious, but self-importance is not something that I think is ever good for anyone. And so it's hard, it's weird for me to say, to hear you like, it's an inspiration, because I would never think, I bet I'm inspiring people out there. That would be.
Look how inspirational I am. Jeez.
Yeah. And that's not even tall poppy syndrome, because I fucking hate tall poppy syndrome in Australia. I think we need to back people who are more ambitious and take chances. But if someone's out there being like, I think I'm inspiring people, I'm like, you motherfucker need to relax, because you are not a heart surgeon. You are trying to play pretend on screen. You are, you're doing voices. But no, that's really nice. And in terms of the movie, man, it's coming out this year. That's all I know. Again, I'm so good over years of acting and disappointment, and I'm so good at managing my expectations. So, look, so far the movie is supposed to come out before the end of the year. It's supposed to be the first ever Netflix movie that's going to get an Australian cinema release before it goes to Netflix.
That's awesome.
We'll be able to watch it in cinemas before it comes out. However, these things are subject to change, and they're editing it right now. This movie has a lot of visual effects. So if the budget starts to blow out, the first thing they're going to cut is the cinema release, because that's just, they don't make money in cinemas ever. No movie does anymore. It's sad, but it's the reality. So
it's a shame. It's the best place to view it. I'm a cinema man. I love going to the cinema, man.
Especially a movie of this scale, man. So like I'm trepidatious to tell people it's coming out in cinemas, because then, when it doesn't, they'll be like, this motherfucker's a liar. But, so far it was scheduled. Last I heard, the producers were saying, yes, we're doing an Australian cinema release. There may be a premiere in LA. There may be a premiere in Melbourne. We shot in Victoria primarily, and then did a month in New Zealand to finish. The film is called War Machine. It's the story of, it mainly follows one man and a small team. He is a US Army soldier trying out in Ranger School, or RASP, which is Ranger Academy Selection Program. It's essentially like the Navy SEALs of the Army, the Rangers. And the film takes place following his journey and the small team that gets selected to go on one final simulated mission called Death March, in which if they succeed on this simulated mission, they will become Rangers. And it's sort of like a lifelong goal for this main character. But when the crew and the main character, who is Alan Ritchson, go on this final 24-hour mission, things go wrong. There's a twist. Things happen, and chaos ensues. So that's kind of the backdrop of the film. It's an action sci-fi. It's directed by a director by the name of Patrick Hughes. Patrick Hughes is an Australian director. His credits, he did the Hitman's Bodyguard with Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson. He did 2 of the Expendables movies. He did a movie called The Man from Toronto with Kevin Hart and Woody Harrelson. So he's been working in the US.
I've seen that. I've seen all of them. I've seen all those movies.
Right. So that's the director for that. But man, the thing that I would recommend from people who wanted to get to know Patrick Hughes, is he made a movie called Red Hill. It's an Australian film in 2010. He wrote, and you want to talk about inspirational, John? He wrote, directed, and produced it, and he mortgaged his house to get it made.
Wow.
And I spoke to him about that journey. And when this movie came out and it swept the festivals, there was a bidding war for who would pay the most for this film. It was like the film of the year. And he made it off his own back. And from that, he got all those US opportunities, and he's made a.
I love stories like that.
Yeah. And he is a big fucking boy. He's like a footy guy. He's just like, hey, fucking, how you doing? You know, fucking explosions and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, and I desperately craved his approval, the whole shit. And I don't think I got it once. But that's just how he is. But point being, man, he's an Australian guy who, you know, he's just deeply ambitious. The Americans love him because he fucking backs himself and he's good at what he does. And my point being is that go and watch Red Hill, because that's a true mark of who he is and where he was at in 2010 anyway. But what he does in the movie Red Hill, he's kind of doing with War Machine. It's his intention, because he wrote War Machine as well. Another writer, James Beaufort, who was in the cast with us, was awesome dude. But it's basically a genre within a genre. So, you know, with Red Hill, without giving that too much away, the movie appears to be an action sci-fi with War Machine, but then it quickly becomes a totally different genre altogether. And there's not many movies out there that are doing it. If you watch Red Hill, he does it in that. He puts a genre within a genre, and it's fun, man. And when I watched that movie, I was like, I fucking trust this dude. Let's go. He's going to do it. You know,
I'll definitely watch it.
Yeah,
I'll definitely watch it. I love movies like that. I love movies that take chances and that don't just follow the same, you know, tropes all the time that are just so predictable. I love shit that has twists and turns and just more depth to it. So I'll definitely check that out. Red Hill. I would. Is it on Netflix or probably Stan? Maybe if it's an Aussie movie.
It might be Stan, or I think last time I checked, because I watched it when I was you know, out shooting the film when I first signed on to the film. But I think I had to hire it off Prime Video. It was like $5 or whatever. But
okay, it'll be on Prime. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah,
I'll give him some money. I'll give him some money.
Give him some money. He doesn't need much, but give him some. He's killing it.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Not after his Hitman's Bodyguard money. But yeah. Oh fuck! Sure. I remembered the Ryan Reynolds.
Yes, Ryan Reynolds.
So it's crazy to me that you mentioned. Fuck! I feel terrible for your listeners. Like, this guy can't fucking keep anything on track. The Ryan Reynolds thing. So, you know, talking about narcissism, talking about always wanting to be a unique snowflake, and no one's quite like me, and what my brand is. I'm leaving on Sunday to go to LA. I'm going for 10 days, and I'm meeting with US managers. But because of War Machine, the doors have opened, so to speak, to a lot of to a lot of US reps and agents and stuff who previously would not have fucking met with me. But now that I've been in a film and I've had and they don't even know what the film has come out, looks like yet. But because word travels, they're like, oh, this kid, whatever. So I'm taking meetings with them and with Disney and Netflix and a few other studios and stuff, just to sort of meet and greet. But long story short, before I was taking these meetings, I have to think about, because I'm meeting with managers who maybe want to come on board as part of the team, and then they will rep you in the US, and then my manager in Australia will rep me here, and we're all sort of a team trying to sell me essentially. So part of that, as I've been thinking, whose career would I want to have? Like, who am I like? Who do I see myself as? And at this stage, the only thing I could think of was like early Ryan Reynolds, like Blade Trinity Ryan Reynolds, because Ryan really was, and he is now, but Ryan is one of the most versatile actors in Hollywood, because he was always funny. He could do comedy, but he had like a physical commitment. He was always fucking in shape if he needed to be. Jacked as shit. And he could hold drama, and you could take him seriously. Like, he could do an action and you'd be like, yeah, that's fucking Ryan Reynolds in an action movie. Have you seen Safe House?
Yeah, I have. Look, I've been following Ryan since Two Guys Ago on a Pizza Place. I've watched everything.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure. So Ryan was like the only archetype, and Blade Trinity especially was kind of like this, I'm going to go into these meetings and I'm going to tell them, like, I'm fucking Blade Trinity Ryan Reynolds. Like, I'm going to, the three things. You talk about brand, my three things that I want the industry to view me as is that, okay, if we hire Blake, one, we're always going to get a sense of humor. He's always going to be able to bring some light and some lighter moments to his characters, whether they be darker characters, serious, whatever. He has that comedy ability. He's always going to bring that to his brand. Second, there's always going to be a physical commitment. If this character needs to be, if my body is an extension of my work. If I need to be fucking jacked, I'm going to turn up jacked. If I don't,
you're already jacked, bro. Come on, you're already jacked.
What I'm saying, like, I will use that as a storytelling method. You know, some actors don't have that ability. Timothée Chalamet, great actor. That motherfucker ain't changing physically for a role. You know what I mean?
He ain't getting
he's gonna look like a lesbian in every film, and that's just how it's gonna be. So there's gonna be a physical commitment, whether I need to be in shape or not. And third, there's gonna be an element of danger or an electricity. Like, you know, there's gonna be a thing on camera where you're like, I'm not sure if this guy's a bad guy or if he's a good guy. You know, like there's an element, like, you know, some comedic actors you're not afraid of. You're not like, oh, that person could be evil, you know. Whereas I want to have that element where it's like, you could put me in a role and it's like, this guy could be a good guy or he could be a bad guy. I don't know. Like he strikes me as both. So those are the three things.
That's the physical presence too. You're putting the physical presence, like Statham essentially, or I think it's also because you've also fought, you've done MMA, you've got that aura about you that you've been in those situations. I think you can't fake that as good as when you've actually done it, right? I feel like that. I get that feel from you, definitely.
That's a good point. I never thought of that, but yeah, I mean, those are the three things. And for me, the only person that I can think of is Ryan Reynolds, because the guy literally can do it all. He can go do a comedy and then he can turn around and he can go do an action and then he can turn around and he can go do a blend of both. He can do like you know, if Ryan Reynolds turned up in like a period drama with a British accent, I feel like he could do it. And I'm like, I mean, now he's so famous as Deadpool and he's this own fucking thing now. But you know, Ryan, especially Blade Trinity Ryan, was that early archetype for me where I'm like, if I had to point at one person's career, it's that. I was like, I can do that. I can be the cheeky, fun guy who's also physically in shape, who can do action, who might not, you know, whatever. So it's crazy to me that you mentioned Blade Trinity Ryan was the one that I was like, what the fuck, dude? That's my whole
bro. Yeah, look, I think you fit that perfectly, because I will always look back at that movie as just that character. He was Deadpool before he was Deadpool. That was him as Deadpool before he was Deadpool, just without the disfigured face. And I've always been drawn to that. I think it's charismatic. The charisma is the charisma that he brings. That he can crack a joke. That he is physically imposing. You're right. It's all those three things. I think that's exactly what you need to do. And that should be the aim that you go down, for sure, mate. Because I think that's entertaining. I think that could get you so many different roles. Just having, I think comedic ability, I think when I'm watching actors, is so important in so many different avenues of film. I think if you can do comedy, I think you can do anything. I feel like, I don't think if you can't do comedy, I think it's a lot harder to get ahead.
Totally.
Oh, I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, thanks, man. And that's something as well. I want to shout out Alan Ritchson, not that he fucking needs it. But he was someone who I admired like that, Ryan, as well, because like, I don't know if you ever watched a show called Blue Mountain State.
I haven't seen all of it, but I've seen it. Yes.
Sure. So he plays the football captain, Thad Castle. And I watched that when I was in high school, you know, drinking with my mates, and it was such a nostalgic show for me. But I said this to Alan, and he humbly denies it, but I think Alan was doing what John Cena's doing now way before John Cena was doing it. Like, he was a big, physical, jacked guy, but he could do comedy. He was silly. He was like a Jim Carrey in a fucking Chad's physique. He has this, because if you watch Blue Mountain State, he uses his voice and he's very like, oh, show us your knockers, and like doing all this like really high energy, weird stuff, but it's in a physically muscular guy. So it's funny. He plays against, and he can do action. He can do comedy. He can fucking like nail comedy, and he's a versatile dude. And he's a great human too, man. He was such a positive influence on me, and taught me so much on that shoot. So yeah, those people are the ones that I'm drawn to. So who knows, man? Who knows what I hope, but yeah.
It's funny you say that, because when I realized that I was a fan of his, it was actually, I listened to him on a podcast, Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. He was on, he did a podcast with him, And the way he opened up and was honest about his life and things that he had been through. I remember listening to that pod. I was actually, as when we first started cleaning, and I was working at night, and which was a big change to our lifestyle. Like this whole new thing. Look, I got that cleaning gig with, like, I literally only got the cleaning gig because I could sell. Like, you know, we got this freaking massive contract cleaning the world's gyms here. So we got the job cleaning these world's gyms. I'm like, I've never cleaned a big ass gym like that before. So I was listening to a lot of podcasts at the time, just trying to, you know, survive while fucking putting in hours of cleaning. And I listened to that, and I remember becoming a fan of him so much so that I went back and started watching things that he'd been in. And it's so funny that you say he's a great human being, because that's exactly what I took away from that podcast. That actually is another reason why I wanted to get into podcasting more, because I love those types of conversations where people get real and they actually talk about real shit to do with themselves, especially on the creative side, because I just love, you know, film and TV and storytelling and all those types of things. Hence why I collect all this shit, because it's a representation of the stories and the films and the characters that I love. That's the reason why I have that. So it's so funny that you say he's good. I'm glad to hear that he's a good guy, because I got that impression from that podcast.
Great guy, man. And you know, people would ask me, you know, frequently, what's he like? You know, you're friends with him. And then this is the thing, man. If Alan and I ran into each other down the line, you know, he'd give me a hug and he'd be like, how you been? And we'd catch up. But he's, you know, we're not like friends. We were colleagues that enjoyed our time together for 3 months. And I would never put that on him. He travels with his wife and his kids, which I really admire. And cool. His wife is a beautiful human. And we talk sometimes infrequently. And, you know, like he is a guy that it's so hard to relate to, because he has built his career over the 20 years. He's doing things now that people just don't relate to. Like in between takes, in between scenes, I would go, we would all go to our tent and we would, you know, trailer fucking whatever. And he's on his laptop editing some other project, and he's on the phone to the head of Amazon, like securing some new film. Right. He's booked for the next 3.5 years of projects. He produces, he directs. The guy is so fucking busy that it's like, how do you small talk with a guy like that? You know, other than,
you know, he's busy. Like shit. Like, how can I take up your time? Like, I'm taking
up your time. So like a regular human being meeting him and talking with him would be like, I didn't like him. He was a bit arrogant. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm like, no, you're just a bit intimidated by the fact that you have nothing to talk to him about, because he's living a totally different life. But if you would talk to him human to human about, you know, real things. I mean, we discussed, you know, what it's like managing a career of his size now, with being a father, and how does he manage that? How does he make time to make his kids seen? And you know, the whole family lives in the off base whatever dad's doing for work, you know. And how does he balance that? And how does he keep, you know, and
it's got to be
tough. And he's a present dad, and he sees his kids, and he talks with his wife, and his wife's the fucking rock, man. I mean, it was so inspiring, you know, obviously, you know, being with Georgia, and it was an example to us, because Georgia came over and met them and spent time with them, and we were like, okay, well, you know, Alan and Kat are doing it. You just got to keep talking, and new problems are going to come up, and new things. You just got to keep talking to each other and keep figuring it out. So he was so inspiring to me, because I was like, that's what I want to fucking do. I want to have a career where, you know, I'm making great money, traveling the world, working on awesome projects. But I want to come home and be a good dad, and I want to do that. And he was an example of that, you know, like if I'd met him and he was a great actor, born out of control, but he was a fucking terrible dad and his wife hated him, I would have been like, ooh, that's not the best example.
That's a big one. I'm a big believer in, I love good father figures. Like my daughter's 8 years old now. And my most important thing to me is being a dad and being the best dad I can. Right. So to hear that, that's awesome, because it really is when you become, you know, I never knew I wanted to be a father, but when I became a father, it literally changed my life, bro. Like the fact that I get to do this now, and I have more time to be, like, I've had a lot of time to be, now that we have our own business and we do our own thing, I've got time to do this stuff. I'm more motivated to make this stuff work, so I can have just more time to be with my daughter and be a good dad and be invested. Like doing this type of stuff, whilst it takes a lot of hustle and a lot of time to, you know, make a YouTube channel grow or a podcast grow, or, you know, get into videography and filming and all that type of stuff, it beats being stuck somewhere for 8-9 hours a day where you're not happy, working 9 to 5 essentially. So I'm more motivated than ever to get into that, and to hear that someone as high performing as him still makes that a priority. That's so cool to hear. Did you get
cool.
to train with him? I need to know. Did you get to do a workout with him? That's what I want to know. Did you get to lift?
No, man. No, I didn't actually, because the way it kind of was that like Alan was on his own schedule. He's the number one in the movie, so he had no days off. I mean, other than we would shoot Monday to Friday and have Saturday, Sunday off. But he was there. He was there every day that we were shooting. There was not a day that he wasn't shooting. I think he might have had one day where they were shooting stuff that he wasn't in, because he's in every fucking scene. And I think I had the second highest amount of time on screen. So it was like I was there. I think we were shooting for 66 days, and I shot 61 or 60. Or maybe 60. So I had about 6 shooting days off, I think. And Alan was there for 65 or some shit. So he was so busy, man. And not only that, he's going home to be a dad. And when we're shooting, we're doing 12 to 14-hour days, door to door. Like when we get picked up in the morning to when we get dropped off, it's like sometimes 14 hours. So again, you're on a movie set, and it was a fucking hard shoot, man. Like physically, it was an action movie. And even though we're pretending, we're actually physically fucking running, and we're doing all these things. And, the stunt team were awesome, but, there were a lot of stuff that we had to do our own stunts for just because you're on camera. And so it was a grueling shoot in terms of, for a film shoot. We're still getting coffees and getting catered to, but we have to do things with our body physically. So long story short, we just had, Alan would get he would have time to do maybe like a 20-minute quick pump of the muscles and do like some quick weights. Get him juicy, and then just fucking go to set, man, and work all day, and then go home and be a dad. Whereas like the rest of us, there were some days where like we would shoot and like my scenes were done after 8 hours, and I'm like, see you later, motherfucker. I'm going to the gym. And he's like, I don't need the gym. And I'm like, true that. My bad. So I didn't get to train with him, and but I was very respectful of his energy. It was a goal of mine that I don't want to take any more energy away from him. He's already got so much energy coming out, and if he has any energy left, he should spend it with his kids and his wife. He shouldn't spend it with me fucking answering my questions, catering to my insecurities and bullshit like that. So we just kind of were colleagues, and hopefully he appreciated that. I think he did.
He would. Surely he would, mate. I think that's a very respectful way to be. That shows how professional you are as well. I think,
but I also had the opportunity over dinners and stuff to tell him what a fucking fan I was of his, and that I loved watching him growing up, and it was so cool, man. It was like, it feels like it happened to someone else, but there were times where I'm talking to him about movies and shows that I watched, and I asked him specific questions, like, in that episode you did this, was that written? And he was like, no, let me tell you about that. And I'm getting the inside scoop on his choices. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that was an accident and you did that. How did you think of that? Fuck, that's fun. That was the best part, man. And just working with people that I've watched for years, like, Dan Weber's a great guy. Asking him about The Punisher, because I'm such a fan of The Punisher, and Bernthal, what was he like, and just all that stuff. And then getting to create on set on a $110 million movie on a budget of that scale, when you come in and everything's there, like you're in this fucking village that's exploded, and it's like, so we built a village and we lit it on fire. And I'm like, oh, so gangster. Fuck. And then it's like, all right, these are my lines and this is what I have to do. Like, how do you want to do them? And I'm like, I'm thinking maybe I walk over here and I spit and I look up that way, and they're like, I fucking love it. And you're like, oh my God, I'm doing it. Like you get some input and you do this stuff. It's so addicting, man. I mean, I can imagine. The only real downside is that finishing this movie and, all these years of longing to be an actor, and then finally getting my shot. And it was an amazing experience with people I looked up to, people I fucking loved, and my friends for life. And I think I was pretty good at it. Like I haven't seen the movie, but I know for what my level of experience is, I know I can do this and I can have a career in it. And then I come and I'm getting paid more than I've ever been paid in my life before. And then I come home and I'm just hanging out the washing, and I'm like, my cat won't look at me. And now I'm just like going back to normal life. It's literally like coming off drugs, man. I feel like I wake up some days and I'm like, what the fuck was my life? 10 minutes ago, I was on a Hollywood film on a mountain with Alan Ritchson doing this fucking scene. I was flying in helicopters, fucking fighting these things. And now I'm just like replying to emails of my general job and like doing the dishes, you know, and that's fine and that's life and that's good. But I didn't anticipate this feeling of coming down off something.
Yeah.
Like
I think you're right. I think you're right. It's such a high, like in a very, very small scale. That's kind of how I felt about just doing those 2 days on that movie. Because I love filmmaking so much, just to be a part of it, like just to be there. I was like, I want more of this. I just want to do this. Like, why can't I just do this all the time? Like, I like playing, I like storytelling. So on a very, 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 very tiny, small scale, that's how I kind of felt after that. I just thought, oh, what else can I do? Like, I remember when I was there, I was like going up to the lady, they needed more extras. And I'm like, hey, maybe I can help you try and find some extras. Why don't we contact like the school down the road that has actors, like the drama department, and try and find any way I could insert myself because it was like very addictive. I can imagine on that scale, it must be like coming off a high. You're coming off a high, crashing back down to
it's straight up methamphetamine, my friend. But you get it. It's the same feeling, man. It's just like, you know, and also, which sounds even more sad. Again, everything is I'm so unique. I'm such a snowflake. But on a film set, man, when you're surrounded by other artists, you really are with your people, you know. And I don't know if you relate to that, because Perth, I love Perth, and I grew up here, but it's not a place for creatives generally. It's not. It's you know. There's not a lot of us here, and the culture is slow to support. It's just not where the opportunities are. And when I was on a film set, I was surrounded by people who were like me and got me and had the same heart that I have and the same desire to express and to create. And that was beautiful. And I felt like you have a community. And now I come back to Perth, and even though I've got, you know, some of my closest friends here and my support networks, they don't get that side of me. They don't get that creative side, and we don't discuss those things. And you know, we just don't have the same heart. You know, I love them and they're my fucking people and I die for them, but there's something nice about being around a tribe of people who get that side of you, and that's difficult to step away from. And that's maybe why, you know, I'm just so keen to do more acting and to get on different sets and maybe
I would even say that's one of the drives I would think for a lot of actors, is to get into those environments where you are with those people, because I completely understand what you're feeling. For most of my life, I never felt like I was around people who felt like I felt about storytelling or film, or I talk to them about a movie. Like I want to talk to someone about a movie and they just don't pick up on anything that like I can't even have a conversation with them about the things that I thought were fantastic in it, because they're like, oh, it's okay. Oh, it's not that. Oh, it's not this. Oh, it was boring. Oh, it was this. And I'm like, man, don't you just get what I get from this? Like, don't you think this was awesome how they did this, or like that camera angle, how it conveys that emotion, or how they put the music to it? Like I had this conversation about the Dune films. I love the Dune films and I love the cinematography in it and how they put the sound and everything together. Charlemagne. I'm trying to have the conversation with people about why I love it so much. And this was with my brother-in-law and a few other people at a barbecue, and I'm just like, they're like, oh, it's boring. And I'm just like, I want someone who gets it like I get it to talk to about this type of thing. So like, you hit the nail on the head for me. Like that's why I'm pursuing it now. It's
that's
painful.
why I appreciate it. That's why, you know, when you and I met for the first time UFC gym, you know, while we sat and spoke for an hour, because you can feel, okay, fucking someone who gets it, we're going to have a quick chat. And it's almost like selfish. You're like, I don't want to, I need to feel like there's someone else that gets my thing. And, we, you know, and that's why I was so keen to jump on this, man, is it's like, you know, I know that it's going to be a good chat, and that'll scratch that itch for me a little bit. And then I can go back out into the cold, barren world of people who don't get me. People don't get what a fucking genius I am. God damn it. Narcissism through and through, but it is true, man, and it is something that is, you know, it's valid. You know, people imagine, dude. That's why I don't like to talk about the movie to people outside of this and stuff, because I can't tell you how fucking painful it is when people go, "How was the movie?" And then I'm like, man, it was one of the craziest things I've ever done in my life. It was a lifelong dream. And as I start to talk, I can see them glaze over and not get it, and they don't care. They're just kind of like.
Care. Yeah.
They don't care. They cared 2 seconds ago, but because I know that they don't get it, when I start to tell them, I see them lose interest. And I'm like, I almost get angry. I'm like, how the fuck are you losing interest? I was the lead in a Hollywood. I was one of the leads in a Hollywood film. How the fuck are you losing interest in that? Like, how can I not hold? Because, and it's like, number one, they haven't seen the movie. Number two, the movie might be fucking terrible. Who knows? Number three, they don't have that in their heart. They don't have that desire to be a creative and to express that. And they don't know how much it meant to me. So, you know, for my own protection, I have to limit. When people say, how was the movie? I go, it was sick. It was awesome. Comes out towards the end of the year. Enjoy, you know?
It's a shame. It's a shame, mate, because that's how I feel. You know, when I make a YouTube video for like the content, like if I'm making a video about Spider-Man, I'm all in on Spider-Man. Like I'm rewatching the Raimi films. I'm just, I invest myself in all the stories. And then because I make videos about displaying them, because they're high-end pieces, they're quite expensive. They're very realistic detail, but they can maneuver. You can put them in any position you like. So for me, it's my way of it's recreating moments from the films. Like I can put Spider-Man in a flying pose. So like filming the figures is a way of me telling a story. Like I got the Shang, for instance, one video I did, one of the videos I had the most fun making. Not that many people watched it, but it was one of the videos I had the most fun making. I had the Shang-Chi figure and the Wenwu figure, both amazing artistry. The head sculpts look just like the actors. And I recreated a fight between them. So I did a full-on fight, like going back and forth. And then I recreated the scene where they lock with the rings near the end of the movie. So like for me, that's me escaping to the world of those characters, telling the story through these things in my own way, in my own room, because I can't be a part of it in real life. I get to recreate it and spend time with that. And I go to talk to anybody about it, and they're like, you play with toys. And I'm just like, ah!
No, totally, man. And I hear you, and it's like, you know, it is painful. And I guess as long as you have one person or some people, you know, that you can share it with, then it's fine if people don't get it. And I get that. And you know, my fiance doesn't get that side of me. She loves me, but she's not a creative. She doesn't have this desire to be seen. Her dad gave her lots of hugs. You know, she's fine. But she loves me, and sometimes it's painful too, because like I want to share things with her and in film, and she doesn't get it. But I've found that she doesn't need to get it. She just loves me, and I get it. And you know, I've had relationships in the past with people who were artists, and there's room for only one, John.
I could say that.
Water and water, sometimes you drown, you know, or you got to have a bit of fire in the water. But you know, it's like I don't know. With us, it works, but I get the feeling, man, and it's
at least having someone to talk to that gets what you get or thinks about it the way I think. Having some people to be in your life doesn't necessarily need to be a partner, but having some people that you can share the love of creativity and acting with, I think, is very important.
Definitely. Totally, man. Totally. There was Can I share with you now? Can I share with you just one thing that Alan Ritchson taught me on in terms of film acting?
I would love to hear it.
Yeah. So just very generally, for me, like my definition of good acting on screen is that I need to keep it real between you and me as the actor, right? Like, so if we're in a scene together and we're doing the dialogue, if it feels like it's real for us in the moment together, then whatever the cameras are capturing, they're going to capture that, and it's going to be great, right? So that's always my North Star, is it's like, make it real. How would this person actually talk? Don't act angry. Like make it as real as you can, and make it seem how people really are. Like if you watch something on screen and you go, that's not how people are, then you know, that's not good acting, right? So you got to keep it real in the moment. But what I didn't understand is that, you know, what I did understand, but I learned a lot, was that there is such a technical aspect to acting on camera, which I already thought I was across, but there are things that are going to translate on camera that in person, in the room, do not feel real.
Really?
So after working with Alan, I know what a movie star is now. I get it, right? Movie star, I just thought was someone who is in big movies. That's what makes you a movie star. It's not true. Movie star is an energy. It's a pace. It's like it's an intention. It's a way of working. And everything that movie stars do is very slow and very deliberate. And there's lots of, it's commitment, and there's like specificity, but they slow down and they commit, and they, you know, they're all in on it, and that creates this presence or whatever. So long story short, there were scenes with Alan and I where he understood, because he's a seasoned actor, that we're in a genre movie. Sure, it needs to be real, but we're in a fucking action sci-fi right now. And he knows
Mm-hmm.
what this moment needs. So there'd be a scene between us and I'm keeping it fucking real. I'm keeping it as real as I can. And
Keeping
Alan
it real.
I'm keeping it real. And then Alan would do something, and I'm just giving an example. This isn't actually what he did, but he would just like, maybe he would like look over there. Like my character would ask him a question or something, and he'd like look over in the distance and be like, I don't know, but whatever it is, it's coming. You know, like something like that, where I'm like, what the fuck? That was cheesy as shit. Like, that's not how a person would talk. Just talk to me, Alan. Come on, you know?
Yeah.
Or maybe he would pause a little bit too long or something, and I'd be like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, people don't take big pauses in real life, right? Because that's my metric.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then I would go over to the monitor and I would look at the playback, and I'm watching what he's doing, and I'm like, this motherfucker gets some stuff that I don't know. Like, he knows that not everything
so cool.
has to be real right between us. That sometimes, depending on what the camera's doing and where the camera is, and he's already editing it in his mind, he knows what they're going to use. He needs to have his eye line be there, and he needs to take a moment, pause, which you wouldn't do in real life, for the camera to land, and then he's going to give his line and then walk off. And like, whereas if I was to keep it real, I'm just going to say the line, and the camera won't have even, like, it won't be in the right position. And it won't do this stuff. So I was like, oh, okay. So having things be real in the moment is a great base, but then you need to build this technical understanding on, yes, we need to keep it as real as possible, but still act on camera within whatever's happening. And I got better and better at that over time. And I would ask, you know, DOPs, which you mentioned that you wanted to be one day, they're an actor's best friend, because before a take, I would literally be ready to do whatever the scene is or whatever's happening in this scene. And sometimes you break a scene up. And before we start, we had 3 cameras shooting at a time. And the head DOP, Aaron Morton, he's the head of cinematography of New Zealand. He would be on the main camera with me, and I would lean into him. And before a take, I'd say, Aaron, can I just get an eye line, brother? Like, and he's like, yeah. What do you need? And then so like he'd be, whatever they're about to film, I'd be like, does my eye line look better here or here? And then he'd be like, there is powerful. And I'm like, thank you, bro. And then I would do, so he helps you with the thing.
That's so cool. That's so cool, bro. Stuff you wouldn't think about.
No, you don't know. And it's like, for me, you talk about why I want to be an actor. I fucking love the technical aspect of acting and making it look as real as possible, but on camera. You know, there was this, this one, my proudest moment on the film, I don't even know if it's going to make it in the edit. It might not. But my proudest moment in the film was that I built this character moment out of nothing. There was like without giving anything away, one of our team members is injured, and we're carrying him in like a it's called a skedco, but it's like a stretcher, an army stretcher.
Okay. Yeah.
And we're on the run. We have to we're on the run. And we come up against this raging river, right? And we can't get him across. So we hatch this plan that essentially one of us is going to swim across with a rope and a carabiner, and they're going to tie it off, and then we're going to create like a pulley system, and we're going to pull him across. And I'm going to volunteer to take the injured guy, just to be the hero, right? And I'm going to do that. Of course. And there was this moment, there was this line, because we shot just arriving at the river took 2 days, right? But there was this line where one of the characters, not even my character, says to the injured guy, "Hang in there, bud." Right? It was just a very general throwaway line, "Hang in there, bud," because he's injured and he's all fucked, right? And he's passing in and out of consciousness because of the pain. And on the day when we went to shoot, the director said, "All right," because we blocked it out, and he went, "Blake, you're going to have that hang in there, bud line, because you're actually closer to him and you're the one that's going to take him across the river. So it makes sense that you would say that, right?" And I was like, okay, cool. And this was towards the back end of the shoot, and I'd learned a little bit more. And I said to the writer, I was like, "What's the significance story-wise to hang in there, bud?" And he's like, "There's no story significance. It was a throwaway line to keep the scene moving." And I was like, "Okay, do you mind if I try something?" And he was like, yeah, fucking, what are you thinking? So I just essentially built this moment, it wasn't going to take any time or anything like that, where basically and it was all within the confines of what was already being shot for this scene. But my character is strapping this injured guy into the skedco, checking all the things that he's in there tight and he's secure. as I'm getting ready to take him across this river, right?
Wow.
And this moment that I decided, rather than saying, hang in there, bud, I said to the director, do you mind if I try something where he wakes up, the injured guy wakes up, which I didn't know was going to happen, but he wakes up and I'm going to comfort him and I'm going to make him smile and I'm going to make him relax. Even though what we're about to do is crazy, I'm not going to let him know how scared I am and how everything is. And the director said, yeah, whatever, we're already set up to do it. So just try it. So we went in and
That's cool.
And there was this, so basically, the character wakes up and he's sort of like, what's going on? And I made up these lines and I basically said, hey, while I'm strapping him in, like, don't worry about it. We're all good. We're all good, baby. I'm going to get you across there. I'm going to get you a big fat ass across. You hear me? Like, you hear me? And he, and he sort of like kind of like, yeah, laughs and whatever. And then he passes out again from the pain. And then there's a moment on camera where my character looks at the river and sort of takes a breath like, fuck, where this is going to be bad.
Right.
And it all happened within, it's like a 10-second thing. It's like he wakes up, are you good? We're strapping in. Hey, shut up, relax. We're good. I'm going to get your fat ass across there. You hear me? And he's like, passes out. And then I kind of look at the river like, fuck, and I built that from hang in there, bud. That was all me.
That's so cool.
And this other actor, and no one told me to do it. No one said, hey, what would be a great idea? It's just that I was plugged in. I knew who this guy was so bad. And I knew that if they do put it in there, which I hope they do, it might not fit in the edit, whatever. If you watch that without like saying anything, who this guy is now. He's a guy who is, despite being scared, is going to not let his friends know. He's going to comfort his friends. And then there's a private moment that the audience have with him when the friend passes out and is no longer watching, that he lets himself feel how scared he is. But like a flight attendant, when the plane's going down, he's all smiles. And he's like, we're good, baby. We're like,
mate. Mate, that is so good. That is fucking so good. That gave me chills, bro. That is so good. Like that, you're right. It's moments like that in films that I feel like maybe the layman viewer who doesn't really care for film, they don't pick up on shit like that. Like I pick up on shit like that. Like to have the moment to take the breath after telling him that, it does show like that's hero shit. Like you're making sure someone's comforted even though you're scared shitless, and to show the audience. I hope they do put it in. They should fucking put that in.
Me too. I hope so. And it was something that, because this character, he's not my guy's not the most likable dude in the beginning, and it's sort of like a redemption arc, and it is a hero moment. And for me, man, it's like, whether it ends up in there or not, that was a moment where I went, you know what? I can be an actor. I can do this fucking thing. No one told me to do this. And I built this moment that I know will help the story. And it was purely for the character. It wasn't about ego. It wasn't about more screen time. And I did it all within the confines of what was already being shot. I didn't say, hey, I demand we shoot a new scene for me. It was already happening. There was a moment that was just like hey, hang in there, bud, while I'm strapping him in. And I was like, no, I'm going to make this a character moment that pushes the story along, and that now, just from watching that, that's who this character is. This guy is someone who is there for his friends, even though he's scared, and he creates the courage. Come on, the courage
creates the courage, bro. That's perfect. He creates the courage. That I think if they ask you in these big meetings, that's a story you tell them, because I think that little moment encapsulates like how heroic the character is, especially if you're saying he's not that is a character redemption moment, because as an audience member watching that, if you see that, especially if they allow that bit to be shown of you gathering yourself after, like I'm trying to think, it reminds me of like something I've seen before when someone's just having courage in the face of adversity, basically, like everything's falling apart, but you're not letting the people you're in charge of essentially feel that fear. You're taking it on. That's like a leadership thing. That's like a leadership moment, I feel like.
Exactly, man. Right? And that's the ones I can think of, because it has been done before, but it was like Saving Private Ryan, Tom Hanks's character. He tells everyone that he's a school teacher, and then he goes around the corner and cries so they don't see him cry.
Stuff like that, moments like that. Yeah,
you keep it together for the people around you, and that's what a hero is to me. And for this, that's why I love this. That's why I love this. I could talk to you fucking hours, man. The listeners are long gone, but one thing with this character and getting the opportunity, and why I know I want to be an actor and why I can have a career in this fucking business, is little moments like that. And it was also, my the reason my character exists really is to play off Alan's character. He needs someone who doesn't like him and is kind of the comic relief, and kind of, I know what, from a story perspective, why my character exists, but my job is to make him a real human being. And the challenge that I was coming up against was that there was so many moments in the film where Alan's character does something and my character does not like it, even though what Alan's doing is heroic. And there's only so many times you can play the same emotion of he does something heroic and I go, that guy's a fucking piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like, there's only so many times you can do that before you're playing the same note and the audience go, this guy's just a jealous little bitch. I didn't want him to be.
You getting killed off yet? Like, what's going on? Just kill this fucker off.
Exactly. And, one thing that was, again, joyous for me was that before shooting started, I was like, who is this fucking guy? I've never had a role that I've needed to think about this. And how do I navigate not being just a whiny bitch? And why don't I like Alan's character? And I basically did this, this imagination, because no one tells you, you just make it up. And I just had this thing in my head where I went, you know what? I think, why is my guy in the army? I think why is my guy such a cheeky motherfucker? Why is he so bantery? Why is he this? Because ultimately he ends up in a leadership position. Who is this guy? And then the same way I told you, oh, this guy's me. This guy wants to be seen. He wants to have his worth. He wants to have purpose. He wants to have value. And he's getting a big opportunity in this movie. I was like, the character is me. Like, I don't have to fucking do anything. Like, I'm in the same space. But backstory wise, I just came up in my head that, you know what? I think that this guy came from a military family. I think that his dad, I think he had an older brother, and the dad was emotionally distant and was like an army dad, and tried to make me and my brother compete. This is what I just came up with in my head. He made us compete for his love and compete for his, who's the better athlete, who's getting better grades, who's the better wrestler, who's this and that. And in my mind, as the character, I felt that me and my brother knew what he was doing. And I felt like my brother should have had my fucking back, and he should have helped me. He shouldn't have, because of course my brother was going to beat me. He was physically better and he was older and he was this and that. But my brother didn't do that. He gave into it, and he would beat the fuck out of me, and he would win for dad's affection. And I felt like, okay, this is a guy who feels like he doesn't have a team. His own brother wasn't his team. He's hurt. His brother wasn't his team. His mum was like an overly Christian woman who was like, you know how your father is. And the dad was emotionally distant. And this is a guy who's come to the army because he wants someone to have his back, and he wants to have a team. He wants to be a part of a team, And here comes fucking Alan Ritchson's character, who's this fucking Superman who is physically better than the rest of us, and he's stronger, and he's smarter, and he's just killing it. And Alan has his own reasons in the film for being like that, but my character doesn't know that. Here's another guy who's like my older brother, who's taking his light. He's taking your limelight. Not even taking the light, but he doesn't care about the fucking team. This guy he's just doing things for himself, and he's not helping other people. And I did all this backstory, and essentially it was like, I realized that between my character and his character, it was a tale of brothers. It was an older brother, younger brother situation. It was, this thing of like, yeah, I know you're fucking good, but why don't you help me? Why don't you help people that need help? Like, just because you're fucking good at things doesn't mean you don't help. And suddenly I didn't have to act it anymore. The way I would view what Alan would do as this character would really genuinely upset me and piss me off, because I'm like, it's not about us as individuals. We're supposed to be a fucking team, and we're supposed to help each other. And you're just a Superman out here killing it. And I don't know, man. Again, that's been my dream as a kid, to do this work, to do that stuff, and to find these
to be in it, to live that fucking moment, right? You're living the moment.
Exactly, to be in it, and then to put that on screen, and to find these things. And I told the writer that this is what I discovered, and he looked at me like, I didn't fucking see any of that, but that's good. That's shit, yeah, I guess you two are kind of like brothers. I'll take the credit for that, but it was like, hey, that's your job. You did your job. You know, you found who this guy is. And anything that happened, I was able to put it through that filter of, who is this guy? Who is my character? He's a guy who fucking wants a team. He wants to have value, and he wants to be a part of a team. And anything that threatens him being a part of a team, he does not like it. He wants us all to have each other's backs. And if anyone doesn't have each other's backs, fuck that fucking person. And that was my filter for this whole time, you know. And you know,
mate, that's amazing.
Through the film, Alan and my character, we are the same person. We just don't really realize it. You know, there's that classic misunderstanding. The audience knows we're similar, but they don't.
Wow. That moment that you just explained with helping the guy out and then taking that moment, that encapsulates how much he cares about the team. I feel like, you know what I mean? The way you looked after that guy, that moment, they better fucking put that in, or I'm coming from but how you just explained it, how your thought process was for that character, then to hear how you get to have that moment of him showing the care. It's a way of showing it without needing to have a full-on dialogue of him showing it. Just that, I hope they fucking captured that.
Me too, man. And there's more moments for that, but I really hope so too. And you know, the producers on this were amazing, and they could see how much I cared and how much I was trying. And you know, some of the nicest compliments I got were from people like Alan and from other actors. There was an actor on there called Stephen James, who's this African American guy who's absolutely incredible, and he's won an Emmy. And he said to me, which was the nicest thing, he goes, Blake, whatever happens, I think you're going to have a long career. And the reason is because you're so good at the small moments. Like, you know how to find the character in between the lines. And that was nice that he saw that, because that's all I cared about. He goes, I want you to know, man, people in your shoes who have gotten this big opportunity, most of them shut the fuck up and do what they're told. But you're out there trying things and being like, no, I think we can do it better, and I want to try this. And he goes, most people do not do that, man. Like, most people just, you know, yes, sir, thank you, sir, like, happy to be here. And he goes, and that's why I think you don't ever lose that, because that's what's going to give you your career. And all of that came from the fucking years of trying, John, just trying and feeling like, you know, fuck this. If I ever get my shot, why would I shy away then? Why would I then get there and be like, now I better play it safe? It's like, fuck this. And if worst case, I just go back to my beautiful fucking partner and my friends, and I just hang out and I enjoy my life, you know. And that's
it's so true.
That's what the advice thing, you know, you said advice at the end. You know?
Yeah, give us I think that's perfect advice.
The advice is just if you're pursuing anything creative, anything that's in your heart and you want to do it so bad, I think the best thing that you can do is make your life so happy and enjoyable without that thing as much as you can. Like, even though this is in your heart and you feel like you're never going to be happy unless you express this side of yourself, do everything in your power to make your life as happy as you can without that thing. That means find a fucking great partner, be healthy as you can, whether that's physically, mentally, whatever. Do things that are good for you and make you happy, and try your best to find a job that, maybe it's not what you love to do, but you don't fucking hate it. Like, do a job that you don't want to blow your fucking head off every day, if you can. And I know that other people are in positions where that's not their situation, and they have to do the best they can. But I'm saying, if you can, the best way to achieve, I think, anything creative is to trick the universe into being so happy with your life without it that you eventually get it. Because
that's beautiful.
Anything else, it just becomes too. The stakes are too high, and it just poisons all of it. You just got to be happy, because right now, man, when I go to, if someone wants to give me a role, and if I want to sign with these managers and I want to do anything, if anyone wants to take my fucking time away from me, you can't manipulate me, because you have to make it better than spend time with my friends and my family. Oh, little thumbs up. You have to.
That's cool.
You know, I love being around my girlfriend. I'm the happiest when we're sitting on the couch watching Breaking Bad, eating food, and talking about each other's days. That's my happy place. So if you want me to do something else, you better make it fucking worth my time, either money-wise, or you better make the experience super enjoyable. which this chat has been, John. God bless you.
Oh, mate, thank you so much. Look, I think that's a great way to end the show. And I think you're so right. And that's the words I'm trying to live by now. Whether anything happens with what I'm trying to do with the podcast or anything, the beautiful thing is I can keep doing it because it's my thing. Whether it blows up or not is neither here nor there. That's not for me to worry about. I look at it as I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep learning how to film. I'm just going to try and shoot. If I don't get to shoot people, I can still shoot these and I get to recreate moments I love and do all that type of stuff. And I think ever since I got to that flow state of not worrying about what happens or not worrying about missing out on being that big thing before I get too old for it is when everything started to fall into place. So I'm glad that you're there. And I think everything you've gone through to lead up to this has gotten you to that point too. I think it got you ready for that, for this film. And I think it's got you ready for what's to come because I have faith in you, mate. I'm excited to see where you're going to go. And I think you're going to fucking crush it over there. Just take that attitude, take that mentality. And I can't see why they wouldn't want to get you on more gigs. And I can't wait to see the movie when it comes out.
Thanks, man. I appreciate
thanks for coming on. Look, you deserve it. You deserve it.
My absolute pleasure.
You deserve it. And thank you for giving me the chance. Like, this is a big opportunity for me, I feel, to have a chance to interview yourself. It's great. It's great for me. So I really...
Once the movie comes out and they've edited me out entirely, John, and you're like, I have to bury this episode. This guy chatted about his life and his lessons and things, and he was at best an extra in this movie. Can you imagine if I was barely... I was the caterer on set, and I'm like, one thing Alan Ritchson taught me about making a latte was, nah, man, I appreciate it so much. And if anyone is out there and your listeners who are trying to find that path, and like I said, my narrative for a long time was that I missed out on my opportunities and the acting wasn't going to happen for me. But I just want to say there was a moment when I was in New Zealand and I was walking around this Lake Wakatipu, and I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. That's where they shot a lot of it. I had my headphones on listening to the Lord of the Rings soundtrack. And I'm not a very woo-woo guy. I'm not a very spiritual guy. I'm not a religious person. But I was walking around and I was just taking in this beautiful scenery of New Zealand. And I'm half Maori. I'm from there. I'd never been to New Zealand prior to this. And I felt like a spiritual kind of connection to the land and all that stuff. But listening to Lord of the Rings, walking around this lake, I had this voice pop into my head, this thought popped into my head. And I swear to God, it did not feel like me. It felt like it was something else talking to me. And all I heard was this voice that said, "Do you see? Do you see?" And I get a bit emotional thinking about it because it was like that for me. I was like, yeah, I do see. Fuck, this was always the plan. Everything was to get me ready for this. Like all the stuff that I thought was my life falling apart and things not working out was actually the universe guiding me to the thing that I was always supposed to meet my fiance. I was always supposed to start comedy and get ready for this opportunity that no one else could have done as well as I'm going to do it. And it was like this feeling of like, it was so emotional because I was like, oh, the universe, everything is going right. Like it hasn't gone wrong. Things have gone right for me. Like the universe has got my back. I'm exactly where I should be. So if anyone's out there that feels like maybe a little bit of their narrative is that thing of like, it didn't work out for me. Fucking this happened. This, maybe you were playing sport and you got injured, whatever. Just know that there could be that moment out there down the line if you just keep following the flow and the feeling of things where you go, holy shit, this was always the plan. Fuck. Like
I'm a big believer in that too.
Yeah. So that was very, very meaningful for me, man. So I hope people out there that maybe are in a bad place can kind of cling to that because I think it's possible. I think you'll get to a point where you go, I did not see how, there was no way I could have seen how that situation could have been for the best, but it actually was. And now I'm here. So yeah.
I think your story is a great story of that. And that's why I say inspirational. So next time you're in an argument with your partner, just be look, I am inspirational because I've
Good Lord.
Do you know I'm an inspiration? Do you know I'm an inspiration? Come on.
And she'd be like, honey, you still need to bring the washing in. And I'm like, I'm an inspiration to the masses.
Oh, mate, I think your story fits perfectly for Create the Courage. It's definitely inspiring for me. As long as you don't quit, I'm a big believer in don't quit and you'll get there. And I hope the people that do listen to this show, as it's growing, we're growing pretty quickly. So I'm very excited about that. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, people who are listening to this. We are on Spotify as well as YouTube. But I think I found the conversation very helpful, mate. So thank you for everything. And I wish you all the best. And maybe one day when you're the lead guy, the number one guy, and maybe I'm a little bit bigger in the podcast space, I'd love to have you back on to talk about.
Anytime, no matter what, the statuses of our future holds. I'm always happy to have a chat to you, man. Like I said, I get something out of our chats every time because I feel like I'm not alone in the world.
Yes.
And I can keep on soldiering on. So anytime, man, I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, brother. All right, guys. Till next episode. Don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe, throw us a comment, show us you listened, and we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers, brother.
Cheers.